Gary Gallahan, is suing his daughter, 22-year-old Rachel Gallahan, and her fiancé, Oliver Ross, for a loan to buy a carpet cleaning van.
Mr. Gallahan, this is your daughter, and this is her boyfriend, fiancé, whatever it is. They have children together?
Correct.
But they're not married, but they live together?
Yes, ma'am.
In any event, according to you, you made a loan to them in order for them to start a carpet cleaning business. You made a loan to them to get a van, because take your hands out of your pockets.
Yes, ma'am.
This is what they needed in order to start their business. You made the loan, they didn't pay, you want your money.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's find out certain things. When did you accept this money from your father?
It was the beginning of December 2008.
And tell me the circumstance surrounding your accepting this money from your father.
We had worked for a company, he had worked for a company, and I worked with the gentleman as a secretary, and the one company that he had started with doing carpet cleaning, they were leaving to Arkansas, and we really didn't want to have to leave and be relocated with our family. So I went to my father and asked him to give me money so that
No, that's not what you said to him. Let's go back a second. You went to your father and you said what?
That I need money to get a carpet cleaning van.
What did your father say to you?
That he would do it.
He would do what?
Give me the money.
No. Lend.
I don't believe that you went to him and said, give me money. That's not what you would do. None of my children would ever come to me, and I have enough to do it, but they wouldn't come to me and say, I want you to give me money to buy a car. None of my children would ever do that. They would come to me and say, Mom, I'm in need of some money. Could I borrow some money from you? Hoping that I might say to them, tell me what you need the money for, and if it's for a good reason, I'll give it to you. Does that sound right to you, Bird?
That's absolutely right.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So now let's you and I understand each other.
Yes.
That certain things are common sense. Unless you're a psychotic or a miserable person. Now, you're neither psychotic nor a miserable person, are you?
No.
So you would never go to your father and say, I need to buy a truck, I want you to give me money. Right?
Correct.
So then why don't we start all over again like this never happened? You went to your father and said,
can I borrow money for a carpet cleaning van?
Right. And what did he say to you?
That yes, he would get a loan and he would give me the money.
And what did you say to him?
Thank you.
And how did you make arrangements to pay him?
We never officially...
Don't look over there. Look over here. I'm not talking about officially with the Queen's stamp ring on anything. How was he supposed to repay the loan that he was taking out? He wasn't going into his savings. He was taking out a loan.
Yes.
How were you supposed to put your hand down? I'm not asking you a thing. He's not your father. How are you supposed to pay back this loan?
Yes, clearly in monthly payments, but I never took it into that consent that I was actually going to...
That's hardly English, what you just said to me.
Never thought it completely through, I guess, when I did it.
Well, then that's not my problem that you never thought it completely through. And Loverboy wasn't there. Is that right?
Correct. I went to my father's by myself.
That's right. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, ma'am. We agreed to $300 a month.
When did you agree to $300 a month?
I think I gave him the check on December 4th, sometime shortly after that.
Okay. And did they make any payments towards the loan?
They made $100 or $200, that's about it.
And when did they stop?
Oh, God.
When did she stop? Because right now, he has nothing to do with this loan. He's just standing there and looking reasonable.
Probably shortly up January, February, I'm not sure. Because on February, then, she wrote me 3 different checks to cash it separate times. You want to see also the check that I took out, the $9,000?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. She said that she wrote me 3 different checks to help make up for the payments in February, there you see. And I took it to the bank, and there was no funds in the bank account at all.
Truthfully, I did that so he would leave me alone. So I took out money from one account to another. I have 2 accounts, so I...
He was making threatening.
Yeah.
He was making
would-
threats to us daily.
I was not
Coming to
making
my
threats.
He did make threats on my telephone that he hoped that the kids were going to end up in an orphanage when he was going to come tow the truck away that was in my name.
I did say to her.
Sure, just a second.
And
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you pay him his money?
I didn't know that.
Why didn't you pay him his money?
I didn't know there was agreement to pay it back.
You're full of baloney. You're full of baloney. You think that he gave it to you because he just thinks you're a nice guy? He doesn't have that kind of money, clearly. He had to take out a loan to get it. Why didn't you pay him back his money?
That's one reason I did give him the 100, because I was
Why
appreciative.
didn't you pay him back his money?
Well, I didn't have $9,000 to give back
He
to him the
wasn't
same day.
asking you for $9,000. He was asking you for payments.
Sure. Well, he never asked me. I never talked to him. I don't talk to them. They talk to Rachel. But from what I know, I'm normally...
Then, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you earning any money carpet cleaning with the van that he bought?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were making money, and you were feeding yourself?
So I could work. Yes, ma'am.
You were putting a roof over your head?
Yes, ma'am.
Forget her.
Sure.
Forget the children. This is his daughter. You are nothing. Then you have to pay him back. You have
And if
to
he had
pay
ever-
your father back.
If he had ever come to me strictly and said, you know, there's an agreement to pay, but we had never arranged the agreement together.
Then your girlfriend, and I'm not even saying why, your girlfriend lied to you. Now, is there any reason why you and the lovely Miss Goulahan have not married? Yeah, there are a couple of
Probably
reasons.
my fault.
There are a couple of reasons, okay? When you were without funds,
Sure.
was there any state money coming into your house? My question is a simple one. When you were without jobs, was there any state money coming into your house?
When we were first together, yes, ma'am.
When the children were born?
Yes, ma'am. I stopped that pretty quickly,
Yeah.
very temporarily.
Did you ever pay back the state?
They never
Did the
asked.
state know you were living together?
Yes.
Oh, I doubt that. You owe your father this money, madam. He doesn't owe him anything because the contract was made with you.
Is there a contract?
Yes, there is a contract.
Where? In all due
Right
respect.
here.
Okay.
Right
okay.
here.
Okay.
In my mouth. There's an offer
right.
and an acceptance. And there was consideration paid. The consideration was he took out a loan. The agreement was your girlfriend, the mother of your children, would pay back the loan monthly. That was the contract. It was an oral contract. That's why we're here. If it was a written contract, it would be much easier, and I wouldn't have a television program that makes me highly successful. Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Unfortunately for you, sir, the maximum that this court allows me to award you is the $5,000
Yes, ma'am, I
maximum
understand
limit
that.
of the court. You are owed a lot more than that. I hope that your daughter does the right thing and doesn't become a bum if she doesn't pay you back the rest of the money. That's exactly what she is. Do you understand?
Yes, I would
Do you?
just.
Good.
Most
Thank you
fathers
very
take
much.
you to
That's
college.
all.
Jody Marone is suing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas Matson, for a loan to reinstate his driver's license. Jody says Thomas has 9 DUIs.
He used to be your boyfriend. It's your claim that he owes you some money. You paid off some fees for him, took out a loan to do it. He says it was very nice of you, but he told you that he couldn't pay you back, and it was a gift. Right?
Right.
How old are you?
31.
What do you do for a living?
Work at a sawmill.
How long have you worked there?
A year and a half.
How much do you earn?
$13.50. Not very much.
Try to keep your voice up. I'm old.
Not very much.
$13.50 an hour.
Yes.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Marone?
I'm a registered nurse.
Who do you live with?
Me and my children.
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
Aside from you, who supports your children?
I do.
You do.
Yes.
From your work.
Yes.
You have any children, Mr. Matson?
Yes.
How many?
1.
Who supports that child?
Me and her.
So you have a child together.
Yes.
How old is that child?
She'll be 2 August 17th.
He doesn't pay me anything.
You don't live together.
No.
Is there a court order of support?
Yes.
How much?
It's almost $600 a month. It's just started.
I haven't received anything.
Just a second. When did it start?
I just got served the papers a few weeks ago.
Prior to that, how much were you giving Miss Marone for your support of your child?
When we were split up,
Yes.
nothing.
And how long were you split up?
It's been like 4.5, 5 months.
How do you expect your daughter to eat?
He says that I'll take care of it.
How did you expect her to eat if you weren't giving her any money?
I had enough money to live myself.
Who cares? If you don't have enough money to live yourself, you don't make another baby.
Exactly.
So you answered my question, and my question was, she supports her 3 children, and you pay no support, at least for the last 6 months.
I talked to an attorney, and the attorney told me not to give her nothing until it was court ordered.
So your attorney said to you, you don't have any responsibility towards this child until the court tells you you have responsibility. Is that right?
They'll
No,
determine.
just a second. According to you, the thrust of what your attorney said to you was, you don't have any responsibility to pay support for your child until a court tells you you have responsibility. Right?
There will be back support.
You've been working at the sawmill for a year.
Year and a half.
Who owns the sawmill?
Dave LePage.
Mr. LePage says to you, we're going to pay everybody once a month, and you work for your month. And then he says to you, you know what? I may be going into bankruptcy. I'm not paying you. Let a court tell me that I owe you money. And in case I don't go into bankruptcy, it would be wise for you to continue working. And maybe next month I'll pay you. Next month comes around, he says, you know what? I'm still not going to pay you. How are you supposed to take care of yourself?
I don't know.
Your daughter is 2. She shouldn't have to think about how she's going to take care of herself, sir. That's the job of her parents.
Mm-hmm.
Both parents. Now, what bills did she pay that you couldn't pay? Take a deep breath. Look at me. What bills did she pay that you couldn't pay?
She paid my fines and my reinstatement.
What fines?
DWI fines.
So you have an alcohol problem.
Yes.
And how many tickets have you gotten for DUI? And how much did she have to take out in order to pay off those fines to keep you behind out of jail?
I think it was around $4,000.
So this is what I have, Mr. Mattson. I have somebody who doesn't pay child support. I have somebody who has 3 children who works and supports her children. And I have somebody who's an alcoholic who can't cover his own fines, but who thrusts that responsibility onto the providing parent. What do you think I should do with that?
I didn't ask her to pay him.
You mean the figure just came from the DUI fairy? The information on how to get this accomplished came from some crystal ball, from some seance that she had?
She wanted me to have my driver's license so I wouldn't get in any further trouble.
You know what the problem is? You know what I'm going to tell you what the problem is. She appears to be a rather intelligent woman. Mm-hmm. You know, she has a credible profession, right?
Yeah.
And she picked this loser. Not only did she pick this loser, she picked this loser and had a child with him, thereby continuing this gene pool that's getting us all into trouble in this country. You understand from gene pools, don't you? You're a nurse. Figure it out. Was he a drunk when you met him?
Not when I met him. He drank, but...
You know, but for the fact that they're his fines, they're his DUIs, it's part of his punishment, you almost deserve it. You know that.
Yeah.
The only problem is you have 2 other children, and you brought this loser into your household and into your family with 2 other children.
Yeah.
That's a mistake. Don't do it again. How much does he owe you?
$3104.76.
Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Cindy Miller is suing her former landlord, Grover Smith III, for the return of rent. Cindy says on the day she moved into Grover's home, it was raided by police.
Miss Miller, you rented a room from Mr. Smith in his house. According to your complaints, shortly after you moved in, there was a police siege in his house, and Mr. Smith was arrested.
Correct.
You moved out? Wise. Very wise. You want your $500 back.
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in?
I moved in the 10th of December.
Okay. Where had you been living?
In Granada Hills at a different house.
Why did you move out of your last house?
I needed to get another place to live because I was assaulted on Thanksgiving, and that's another case pending, and I was afraid that the assailants would find me where I was. So I needed to find someplace else to go very quickly. So I looked in the penny saver and I found Mr. Grover's house. And it
Were you assaulted during a robbery attempt, or?
No, it was during Thanksgiving at one of my friend's houses, and
Okay.
it's a story. It's another case.
Okay. So you found the room through the penny saver.
Right.
And?
And then I moved in on the 10th of December. And
Gave him $500.
I gave him
so
$500.
So far correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Keep going.
And then I moved in about 4:30 on that afternoon on Sunday, and at 8 p.m., 8:30 that night, there was police outside, and they came on the loudspeaker, and they said, "Everybody out of the house, come out with your hands up."
That was the day you moved in?
The day I moved in, like 4 hours later. And Grover comes and knocks on my door and says, Cindy, we have to go outside because the police want us to go outside. And I said, oh my gosh. So I had no shoes on, no coat. But we went to the front door, and Grover looks at me and he says, now if they asked you, tell them I didn't change my clothes and I never left the house.
He said that to you?
He said that to me.
Why would you ask her to say that, sir?
I don't recall saying that to her.
That would be an odd thing for her to make up.
Yeah.
What were they looking for you for, Mr. Smith?
I was accused of robbing my ex-girlfriend.
On that day?
On the same day that she moved in, yeah.
Were you home that day?
Yes, I was home.
Did you ever go out that day?
Just one time to the backyard. That's about it for a little while.
How long?
Do some yard work.
How long?
Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Other than that, you were home all day?
Yes.
Was he home all day?
No.
So, you were all made to come out of the house. You weren't totally dressed when you came out of the house. When did you move out?
I didn't move out for a week because I didn't have a place to go just yet. I called my brother that night after the police let us back in the house, after a big ordeal with the police handcuffed me. I had to raise
They handcuffed you?
Yes, I had to go out. I had to go out of the house with my hands raised, with the guns pointed at me. And he was yelling at the police saying, you know, sir, don't make me come out of the house because I've been shot before by the police. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then they handcuffed me and they patted me down and made sure I didn't have any weapons, and they made us stay outside for like an hour.
When did you ask him for the $500 back?
A few days later.
And what did he say?
No.
I don't recall ever hearing from this woman that, you know, that I owed her any money at all.
Well, what did you think she sent you a summons for, sir? She was inviting you to take line dance lessons?
Not today is the first time that I've heard from this woman.
But you got a summons from her? You came to court? You must have known that she wanted her money back. Why didn't you just give her the $500 back?
I didn't know she wanted any money back until today.
Until today? What did you think she wanted? She wanted to date you?
I thought she was still living in my house. She still lives with me. To my knowledge, she still lives there.
What do you mean?
You could have fooled me. I've been gone an awful long time.
She's lucky that I'm not countersuing her.
Just a minute. Are you telling me she still lives in your house?
Yes. I've gotten no 30-day notice, let alone no 3-day notice.
I don't care whether you got a 30-day notice, a 3-day notice, or a partridge in a pear tree, sir. Did she live in your house?
Yeah, she lived in my house.
And was she sleeping in your house?
As of December 10th.
Oh, get out of here, you idiot. Oh, listen, if I could fine you for stupid, I would fine you for stupid. Right now, all you owe is $500. Judgment for the plaintiff.
It was
the
a
amount of
false
$500. That's all. Step out.
Christine Bergdahl says ex-roommate Steven Sanchez owes for 2 months' rent and a security deposit.
Mr. Sanchez, did you have trouble finding the courthouse today, sir?
Not at all. Found it just fine.
Did you get here on time?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
15 till.
Huh?
No.
Well, what happened, Miss Bergdahl? Why couldn't you find the courthouse?
Because I've been under the weather a little bit, and it took me a while to get here today.
Are you sick?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the matter with you?
Well, I've been working for Red Cross in Louisiana, and since I've been back, I've had a cold, and I haven't recovered from it yet, and I haven't had a home to go to. So I've been moving from place to place with my luggage, and it's took a toll on my health.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Let me go into what the lawsuit is. I'm going to give you plenty of opportunity to speak, Mr. Sanchez. Ms. Bergdahl, this is what your lawsuit is about. You claim that Mr. Sanchez moved into your apartment with you. You lived together as roommates for about 6 months. He was supposed to pay half the rent. He didn't, but that's not what you're suing him for. You're suing him because you moved out in September. You told him to move out in September. He didn't move out in September. Your name is the only one on the lease. He didn't pay September's rent. He was still there in October. He didn't pay October's rent, as a result of which you lost your deposit on the apartment, which you claim is $1,000. You want Mr. Sanchez to pay the $1,000 that you lost in the deposit that the landlord kept, plus the $1,400 for rent for the month of September when you moved out.
Yes.
And now Mr. Sanchez wants to say something. So within the context of this case, sir, what do you want to tell me?
I was just going to say I've been under the weather, too, as you can hear in my voice.
Felt better
Made
in
it
my
on
day,
time,
too.
so
Bird,
that's all
I
I'm
know,
gonna
used
say.
to be better 10 years ago. You wake up, you have aches, you have pains, but when you have to get someplace, you get there, and you get there on time.
Correct.
Anything else you want to tell me right now? No, good. All right, Ms. Bergdahl, when did he move into your apartment?
He moved into my apartment at the end of January of 2005.
And how did you know each other?
We had mutual acquaintances before, and we slowly became friends.
And you moved out September what?
September the 9th.
Did you pay September's rent?
Yes, I did.
When did you move out?
Actually,
Is not an answer.
I am still residing there, and I'm in the process of working with the management company right now on that place.
How much rent did you pay in September?
$400.
Is that right?
He paid September. He paid half of. He did not pay $400. He paid $362 for half the rent in September.
What was the whole rent? What's the whole rent?
$725, ma'am.
You're still there?
That is correct.
And you're working with the management company to take over her lease?
That is correct.
Then you have to give her $1,000. If she can prove to me that she gave them $1,000, show it to me.
Of that 1,000, I did participate with 300 of that 1,000.
Steven Sanchez owes everybody money. I'm the last person.
Just a second. Shh. Mr. Sanchez, just show me that you gave her $300.
And that's the problem. My work schedule does not allow me to gather up information, and that's the problem that I have. So
well, you want to know what the problem you have?
It's bad. It's a bad problem. I'm
glad
sorry.
you said that, sir. What kind of work do you do? Is not an answer.
I'm a manager at a car dealership, and it requires me to be there from open to
You're
close.
a manager at a car dealership.
Correct.
What kind of car dealership?
Fords.
Bird comes in with his lovely wife, Felicia, and wants to buy a Ford. And they come to you. You sit down, you work out a contract.
Correct.
And do you sell anybody a car? Do you order a car unless they do all the paperwork and sign all the paperwork? I know I've bought cars. There's usually a ton of paperwork,
correct.
Right? So you know that when you're buying a car, you have to be prepared to do a lot of paperwork. When you come to court, you don't come with a smile, Mr. Sanchez. You come with evidence, sir. So I don't know what that piece of paper is that you have with you, but if you claim that you gave her $300, then you bring proof of that.
Correct.
All right. So you have to give her $1,000. That's numero uno, despite the fact that she's late, without a legitimate excuse. Now let's deal with the rent. Did you pay October's rent? She wasn't there. You were there. Did you pay October's rent?
The situation with that was when she went to her retreat.
Just a second.
I'm leading up to the situation at hand.
Listen. Life is short. I'm
Correct.
getting older by the minute. I'll let you expand on the answer if I need it. Did you pay October's rent?
No, I did not, because I wasn't allowed to.
Just a second. Did you live there?
Can I say something, please?
Did you live there?
Yes, I did.
Fine. Now, who do you think is responsible for October's rent?
She's on the lease.
Right, and she wasn't living there.
Correct.
You were living there.
Correct.
Just a second. You know, you made me nervous. Something is going in my eye. Bird, look over here. Do you see? Oh, I got it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Does this look all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're doing good.
Thank you. All right. Listen to me very carefully, sir. The landlord is not related to you in any way. The landlord, I assume, is not related to Miss Bergdahl in any way. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we have to craft this order so that the landlord gets paid their money. What you're going to tell me, Mr. Sanchez, is that you were not permitted to pay the landlord rent because you were not on the lease. Correct. Is that what you were going to tell me? You see what a quick learn I am, Mr. Sanchez? That doesn't mean that nobody expects Miss Bergdahl to pay the rent, do you? She wasn't there. She wasn't there in October. Did you pay November's rent?
No.
This isn't hurricane relief, sir. You're living in a place you're supposed to pay rent. So you make out the check to her and you say, pay the rent. Or you make out the check to the landlord, give it to her. She'll get it to the landlord because she's on the hook for rent. The landlord's not going to let you off the hook. Not going to let her off the hook. Somebody's going to pay October and November's rent.
Okay. I offered to pay time and time again. What the management company said is we need to talk to our lawyers and then we'll get back to you. I went and talked to, I guess her name was Kathy, and she said that you need to vacate the premises. At that time, I was in the middle of a move going to LA to work for another Ford company, and I decided to stay in town because I got another job offer where I reside because it's closer to family. So instead of opening up another lease for a couple of months, I offered to pay 2 months of rent to stay there. What they had told me was, I didn't even know you were there.
So you were a very good tenant. You're very quiet.
I was very quiet.
You have to pay rent. People pay rent, a mortgage, rent, housing allotment. That's what you do. You don't expect her to pay for you, do you?
No, not at all.
Perfect.
I've
All
offered
right.
to pay
How much?
her also, and she denied it.
All right.
Can I say something?
No, do me a favor. I don't listen to tardy people. 700.
He has been asked multiple times by me and the management company to pay something because the person that actually hasn't received any money in 2 months, and he has refused to pay. We've even been over to the house. The landlord even went over to the house requesting money from him, and he didn't hand her
They did not
anything.
come over to look at the house. They came over to assess the situation of what happened and why she left.
And why didn't you pay him then?
Shh. I'm getting to that. The whole
Listen to
situation
me.
of what
Listen
happened.
to me. If it was all very nice, you wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to have such a pleasant afternoon.
The living situation was great. Okay, there was no problem. There was just one little issue of a coworker that she lived with that we became.
Listen, I don't care. I have other things to do. I don't care why she left. She left, and if you would have packed your bag and gone at the same time, then she would be stuck with her lease because it's her lease. You chose to live there, sir, for your own convenience. And you're a big boy. How old are you?
Old enough to know.
Is it a secret?
Yes.
It's a secret? How old you are?
33.
If I were 33, I would shout it from the rooftops.
You look 33, by the way.
That's very nice of you.
You're
It's not going to help you one bit. You owe her $1,000 for the security deposit because you're staying in the apartment. You owe the landlord $1,450. 2 checks. One to her, one to the landlord, $1,450. Mill Creek Management, Inc. is who the check gets made payable to. Thank you very much. That's all.
Carolyn Kruger is suing her brother, Kevin Perks, for his share of their mother's funeral. Carolyn says Kevin is the only sibling who refuses to pay.
Miss Kruger, Mr. Perks is your brother.
Yes, he is.
And your claim is that he is responsible for a portion of your mother's funeral expenses.
That's correct.
Mr. Perks says he is not responsible for any portion of your mother's funeral expenses. When did your mother pass away?
April 22nd, 2007.
And it is my understanding that her primary asset was a life insurance policy. Is
That's
that correct?
correct.
Did she have any other assets other than this life insurance policy?
She had a few $100s in a bank account that I used to pay for the nursing home.
Other than the life insurance policy, did she have a home? Did she have a car?
No.
Did she have bonds? Anything else?
No.
Life insurance policy?
Yes.
And how much was the life insurance policy?
I don't know the total amount. We each got a portion of it. It was $2,082.74 a piece times 8, so a little over $17,000.
And insurance policy, I assume it was from work? Or?
Correct. It came out of her pension.
So it was a pension?
Right.
And it is also my understanding from your complaint that there was no named beneficiary on the policy.
That's correct.
So far, are we correct on that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So, only asset is a $17,000 life insurance policy, correct?
Yes,
You have 7 siblings.
that's correct.
Correct. Your mother did not have a will.
No, she did not.
So you decided, I assume, that you had been taking care of her business.
Correct.
You didn't object to that.
I didn't object. I didn't know I was objecting to because she never consulted me on anything.
Don't give me a lot of baloney.
Carolyn Kruger says her brother, Kevin Perks, refuses to pay his share of their mother's funeral. Kevin says he shouldn't have to.
Now, when you went to visit her, did you take charge of her medical care, of overseeing her stay in the nursing home? Did you take care of her other business, or did you just go and visit her?
I just went and visited her.
So you knew somebody had to be taking care of that.
That's correct.
And who did you think was taking care of that business?
Carolyn.
There we go. And you didn't object to that.
No, I did not.
Perfect. Now, you did receive a portion of this life insurance, did you not?
That's correct.
How much did you receive?
$2,076 and some change. I don't know the exact amount.
When your mother passed away in April of 2007, did she pass away in the same town where you live?
Yes.
Did you go to the funeral?
Yes.
Did you put on a suit?
Yes.
You married?
Fiance.
Did your fiance go with you?
Yes, she did.
Do you have children?
Yes, we do.
Did you bring your children to the funeral?
Yes.
So they went to their grandmother's funeral.
Yes.
Were there flowers at the funeral?
Yes.
Was there a grave site that you went to?
Yes.
Did you ever stop to say to yourself, who's paying for this? Mr. Parks,
No.
did you ever stop to say to yourself, who's paying for this?
Yes.
Did you think the burial fairy was paying for it?
No.
No. So you knew that somebody had to be paying for it.
That's correct.
Okay, and who did you think? Put your hand down. Who'd you think that was?
The life insurance policy.
Right! Look how smart you are. You thought that her life insurance policy was paying for it, right?
That's correct.
Put your hand down. It did. All your brothers and sisters kicked in from the life insurance policy to pay for the funeral, except you. That's what the case is all about. Now, your sister could very easily have said, I am going to take all the proceeds of this life insurance policy, and I'm going to pay the $6,000 for Mom's funeral, and whatever is left over, I'm going to give it to my brothers and sisters. Right?
That's correct.
Well, that's what you thought happened. Instead, your sister decided to do what she considered the right thing, which was name each of you as a beneficiary on the life insurance policy. You all got your money, and everybody divided the $6,000 or whatever it was for the funeral and sent her a check for their portion. Go!
Well, Your Honor, the life insurance policy, normally most life insurance policy, they have a provision, or the funeral home has an agreement where you can have a form filled out to have the life insurance policy paid for it, the funeral expense itself. She never told me about this expense whatsoever. A week after I got the check, I never heard anything from her, never agreed to it, never paid anything. She didn't consult me about it, nothing.
So? And your point would be?
I should have been consulted further on...
I'm consulting you right now. I'm consulting you. Who's supposed to pay for your mother's funeral? Not you. You have no legal obligation to pay for your mother's funeral. None. But you have no right to accept full proceeds of a life insurance policy, which by law is supposed to pay for her funeral expenses before it's dispersed to any beneficiary. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. So it was done a little bit backwards. Instead of taking the money out and then put your hand down. Does it sound like you're losing?
No, I'm sorry.
So instead of taking the $6,000 out and paying for the policy and then distributing it to you, she distributed it to the siblings and then says, okay, brothers and sisters, now send me a check. It's the same thing. Do you understand?
Yes.
You don't have to be consulted about that, sir. This one wants to say something. I'm just dying to hear what she has to say. Dying to hear what she has to say.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but during the funeral and everything that was at the funeral, as far as the casket, the flowers, anything, Kevin was not allowed or invited to pick any of that stuff out.
Was he invited to pick out who the nurses were going to be at his mother?
Your Honor.
Pay attention to what I'm saying to you. Was he consulted, and did he make himself responsible for his mother's care in the nursing home where she was?
He had no choice.
Of course he had a choice. Did he have a choice to pick you?
Yes.
Then he had a choice to pick where his mother went and who took care of her and participating in her care. He chose not to do that. Just as he chose, madam, listen to me very carefully, he chose to let somebody else take the responsibility for picking out a casket, for picking out flowers. It was not as if he wasn't invited to the funeral. He went with you and his children. He just made himself dumb, which I have a feeling isn't much of a stretch. You owe your sister your share of your mother's funeral. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. How much was it?
$750.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Daniel Henoyan says former friend Kaylin Cole owes for a loan to get her car out of impound.
Who is this?
This is my mother, Your Honor.
How old are you?
22.
And you, sir?
35.
You work in the same place of business?
At one time we did, yeah.
And I gather from reading your complaint, sir, that despite the fact that this young lady is much too young for you, you had a little crush on her.
A little bit, yeah. At one time, I found out her age.
And you needed some money because your car was in impound. How come you asked the plaintiff for a loan?
Well, I was at work one night and I was frustrated because my car was impounded and he had asked me what was wrong. And I told him...
What was your car doing impounded?
I'm not sure. I think I was, it was a charge. I was arrested and my car was impounded.
What do you mean you're not sure? You think my car was arrested? I was arrested, my car was impounded. What kind of ridiculousness is that? I asked you a question. What was your car doing in impound?
I had been arrested.
There you go. For what?
They thought that my car was stolen, but it wasn't, in fact, and they impounded my car.
Who were you driving with?
A friend.
Male or female?
Male.
Was he arrested too?
No.
Just you?
Yes.
Who was driving?
I was.
How old is your friend?
I think he is 22.
So they found out that your car wasn't stolen?
Yes.
How long was the car in impound?
14 days.
You mean it took the police department 14 days to figure out that it wasn't stolen?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you speeding?
No. A cop had just saw me down the road and pulled me over.
How many children do you have? You have to think about that?
Two by birth, three. I have a stepson also. She's my oldest.
Is the younger one smarter?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Hanoyan gave you money to get your car out of impound, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, Mr. Hanoyan, now that I've sort of kneaded this case a little bit, I don't like slippery, you agreed to loan her the money.
Yes, I did.
And in exchange, she would allow you to have possession of the car. You didn't have the car at the time for 2 months, and within that 2-month period of time, she would return to you the $535, and you would give her back her car. That was your agreement.
That was the original
Is that
agreement.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you give her the money?
On May 27th.
And when did she let you take the car?
On the same day, well, she drove it at first, but she eventually gave me the car.
And how long did you keep the car?
About 2.5 weeks.
What happened?
Well, one night she asked to borrow it.
What did she say?
She said, I need to go with my friends. She was always with this one crony girlfriend that she'd go and they'd go do an errand. She didn't say where or whatever, but then she came back. She was way late, and I was worried about she was going to take the car. I was trusting her the whole time. I was trusting her. She did bring back the original time. The second time she borrowed the car, she said she was going to pick up her mom from the Greyhound bus depot. Never saw her again after that. Never called, never called. I tried to reach her, and she just denied my calls and cussed me out and stuff like that.
Now, Miss Cole, you say you took the car back because?
I took the car back because Mr. Hanoyan had come over. He would come over like once or twice a week to show me the car, and he, in fact, in the contract said that he would fix the car, any damages, or keep up the oil, keep gas in it, tune up,
which I did.
All kinds. And every time he would come over, there, in fact, he hadn't gotten an oil change. I told him 3 times to get an oil change. Every time he came over.
You only had the car for a week?
No, he had the car for about a month.
No, that's a lie.
I took the car back about 2 weeks before the end of the contract.
How much money had you paid him?
I paid him about, I'd given him like $20 here, $40 there every time he would come over.
Miss
Probably
Cole,
about half.
Miss Cole, listen to me.
Yes.
You paid him nothing.
That's right.
Because if you had paid him something, you would have said so in your answer. So you paid him nothing.
No, I paid him like $20 here, $40 there every time he came over.
That's what you just said to me. I just told you you were a liar. Because in your answer, big long story, nowhere did it say you gave him any money. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you didn't like the way he was taking care of your car, you had every right to take it back. You still owe him the $535.
He did, in fact, breach his contract. He had told me that he had a driver's license. I actually have a copy.
What does that have to do? Listen to me. Listen to me. You did say, listen to me, madam, mother, the younger one is smarter, right?
Yes.
If you choose to take the car back because he did not have a driver's license, he wasn't taking good care of it, that's fine. You still owe him the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Oh, I understand completely.
Did you try to explain it to her?
Yeah, I tried to explain it to her, but I was never clear on the entire situation. And
now you're clear.
Well, Dan was calling me.
He had the car. Yeah. The car was a mere perk for him. He was to keep the car, but she was to pay him. Keep the car for that 2 months. I was a thank you.
But he was calling me for the money way from the very beginning.
Well, because, listen to me, he shouldn't have called you.
No.
Shouldn't have called you, shouldn't have bothered you. But I want you to understand the agreement that your daughter had, because she's got this vacant look between her ears that frightens me. The car loan was a perk. Allowing him to use the car merely said, thank you for loaning me this money. I will pay you back. The fact that you took the car back because you didn't like the way he was taking care of them, that you don't have to pay him. Oh, I have to go now. Listen to me. If you hang around with babies, that's what's going to happen.
You're right.
She's a baby, not a very smart one. I don't know about you. Doesn't sound like you're very clever either. You get involved with somebody's 22 years old. Yeah. 22 years old at work doesn't sound too smart.
I made a mistake, that's for sure.
Well, it was a big mistake. Meanwhile, you're entitled to your $535 judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Paxton Durlow is suing tattoo artist Breezy Barrett for breach of contract on the bartering of a vehicle. Paxton says Breezy was supposed to tattoo him in exchange for a truck.
Mr. Durlow, you traded your truck for services to be performed by the defendant, who's a tattoo artist. She paid some in cash for the truck, is that right?
Correct.
And the remainder was to be worked off in this barter arrangement. Is that right?
There was also a bike included in the deal as well.
That you got?
Yes, correct.
Your claim is that Miss Barrett did half of the tattoo and then modified the agreement that you had to complete the tattoo by telling you that you could only come for your appointments between 9 and 12 at a time when you work, therefore requiring that you go to somebody else to have the tattoo finished.
Correct.
That's what you want to pay for, plus some harassment nonsense. Everybody's been harassed. You know who's most harassed here?
You.
And Miss Barrett says that you caused her to lose business because what you did was you kept canceling appointments. And in addition to that, you sexually harassed her. So she's counterclaiming. When did you make this deal with the truck?
I'm not exact on the dates at all. I mean, I have the contract, I guess, in here. So
okay, so let me have the contract, please. Okay, so the sales agreement requires that the tattoo is to be completed in 2-hour sessions, no more than 3 weeks apart, unless otherwise agreed to by the parties, and that's dated 7/21/06, correct?
Correct. Yes.
When did you start the tattoo?
I was already in the middle of tattoos. This deal came on after I was already getting work from her.
So when you were supposed to start it in 2-hour sessions, according to the agreement?
Yes, that would have been starting that date.
So? What happened?
Well, the appointments were going well. Then I would get an occasional push. She would ask me if I could come in on a different day because there was a person that absolutely had to have that appointment. And it was a way for her to make money and that she was a sole provider for her home. So I agreed. And then it became redundant. And then
what?
I didn't agree any further. It started getting to where I couldn't get anything done.
Did you ever cancel appointments yourself?
The last time that I had an appointment to go to was one I canceled.
How many times did she change your appointment?
I believe 4 times, maybe even more.
And it was always because she had a paying customer?
A paying customer or something came up. She did have a mother who was terminally ill, which I fully understood. And she also changed appointments there too, which I did not consider in the claim.
Okay. When did she tell you about this business of only coming in the morning?
After a discussion of me not getting anything done. The whole conversation was via text, and I have it, if you'd like
I'd like to see it.
Would you like to see pictures of the truck as well?
No.
Okay.
Not necessary. Oh, well, here's your problem. Breezy, you're Breezy, right?
Yes.
Here's your problem. It is clear to me that the two of you have a dispute in these text messages with regard to whose fault it was, etc. You know, clearly you were not yourself as a result of your mother's illness, because that's clear from these emails, and that there were certain stresses in your life. But when you say to him, in the future, you shouldn't off your artist until after the work is done, would be enough for me to say that you breached this contract and I wouldn't let you do any work on me. That's a threat. I mean, I don't know anything about tattoos except that I've seen them. They're done with needles, right? Correct. I wouldn't let anybody near me with a needle who said to me I wouldn't take any action until after it was all done and I was happy. You want to say anything to me?
I would love to.
Go ahead.
After 6 months of tattooing on him, I canceled 2 appointments.
Well, that's too many.
One being I'm a sole provider of my children. I only work 5 hours a day because I have preschool pickup, drop off, daycare closes.
Whatever. Listen,
okay.
He's not your mother. He's not your sister. He's not your brother.
He was a friend.
Just a second. You canceled 2 appointments. Not tragic.
My second appointment I canceled was because his appointment was 2 days after my mother died.
You canceled the 2 appointments.
He called and made 4 appointments. 2 weeks, 2 hours back to back. No-showed on every one of them. I only work 5 hours a day. You no-show.
Show
it's right
me.
here.
He says that that's not true.
Right here.
It's in pencil, Your Honor.
It doesn't matter if it's in pencil.
Let me take a look at it.
That's my appointment book. Here's my apprentice who helps make all my appointments.
Do you remember independently making these appointments?
She wasn't there at that time.
Just a second. Just answer my question. Do you remember independently making these appointments, yes or no?
During that point in time.
Just answer my question. Fine. Thank you. I want you to give me the date of the first appointment. Would you give that book back to her, please? Give me the date of the first appointment you say he missed.
Monday, January 15th.
What was the next one?
1/19/07.
Well, that's not 2 weeks apart.
No, he called after no showing and said, sorry, can you get me in? So I did. I slid him in.
Okay, well, that's not 2 weeks apart. First you told me he made appointments 2 weeks apart over a month and didn't appear. So now it's 1/15/07.
Okay.
Then Then you said he called you and said, I'm sorry, could you fit me in? You made it for 1/19/07, and then you say he didn't show up.
Then he had February 4th.
Go ahead.
Then he had February 16th.
Can you show me, Ms. Berendt, anywhere in these text messages where you say that he missed appointments on the 15th, the 19th, or February 4th, which is why you decided to change the rule, because you have a lot of emails going back and forth, a lot of bad language going back and well, from your end. But there isn't, according to what I see here, one place where you wrote in your email that he missed appointments on January 15th, January 19th, or February 4th. And all of these text messages were written on February 6th. Not one place do you talk about 3 missed appointments.
Those are his text messages.
Show me yours.
That phone was dropped in the toilet.
Okay.
But he could easily have left off the first 4 emails for you.
He could have. And your phone maybe could have been dried off from the toilet. You have to take care of the rest of his tattoo. That was your contract with him.
I never had a problem with that.
That was your contract. How much will it cost to finish the tattoo?
It's an estimate because, I mean...
How much is the estimate?
I have it right here if you'd like to see it. He believes it to be between $1,440 and $1,800.
Can I see, please?
It depends on the work.
Where is it? Is it on your arm?
It's on both arms. And
got it.
There's not more than $600 left there.
Well, then you should have done it yourself.
I would love to.
Well, you can't because you threatened him. Okay. Now, you also don't mention anywhere the sexual harassment that you talk about. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah, the entire time I worked on him, it was fondling me, grabbing on me. I leave my life for you the whole time. That's why she's here.
Okay, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. The counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
David McLaughlin and Rachel Browning say former landlords Michael Moreland and Janae Cooper owe for the return of a deposit and for false charges made to police. The defendants are countersuing for rent.
Okay. According to the complaint, you rented a house from the defendants. You gave them a deposit in order to move in. You moved in. You said the house was in deplorable condition. You want your deposit back. You want hotel stay and punitive damages for filing false charges against you with Child Protective Services. The defendants say that you owe them for rent and something that you stole when you left, right?
Yes.
That's what the case is about. Okay. You have children together?
No.
You have children who lived in the house?
Yes.
How many?
2, my daughter Michaela, who's 5 now, and her son Austin, who's 6.
And how long have the 2 of you been together?
We've been together a year.
Okay. Where were you living before you rented the house from the defendants?
Back in January, I bought a house with my ex-wife, and she filed for divorce about 2 or 3 days after we actually signed for the house. So I had to move out by March 1st so I could get into a house with Rachel, because I knew Rachel from high school. So
I mean, are you a couple, or are you just sharing a house?
We're a couple. We actually got married January 4th of this year.
Okay, so you had to get out fast of your living situation. Did you answer an ad for the defendant's house?
No, we actually were driving around trying to find something. We knew I don't have great credit.
Listen, you drove around. Was there a for rent sign?
Yeah, there was a for rent sign.
And you called?
I called the number. And
in
I
what
talked to Janae.
month?
Middle of March. We called about the first 2 weeks of March. And she told me that they had a house for rent, that they had to fix it up a little bit, and that we could look at it the next day. When we met them the next day, I looked at it.
And?
It was pretty bad. They had like 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3 couches in the living room with a bunch of tables, and it was just everywhere. There was stuff everywhere, every room. And he said he'd have it done by the 1st of April. And then he told us the deposit was $1,850, which is the first month's rent, which is $950 plus $900. And he'll have everything done by the 1st. And I told him that I have a 401k check coming in, my thing from work, and it was $1,300. And then I was going to borrow the money from my grandparents and my
Listen,
mom.
that's a little too much information for me. You saw the house. It was in deplorable condition. You said you wanted the house as of when?
As of April 1st.
Did you sign a lease?
We did sign a lease. And,
I'd like to see it.
This is the original copy of it.
Lease that provided that you were going to move in on April the 3rd for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you move in on April the 3rd?
No, he kept saying he had no electricity, he had no water in the house. So we turned on the electricity at the end of March so he could get the paint done in my name. And he had no water in the house. And he owed $300 or $400 for the water, so he had to pay that off so he could get the water running. And then he never had anybody come up there to fix it.
Listen to me. When did you move in?
May 3rd.
You moved in a month late.
A month late. My parents came up from New York, and
I don't care if your parents came up from New York, sir. I have some specific questions. May 3rd you moved in, right?
Yes.
And you gave them the money when?
April 10th, because I gave him $900 before April 3rd, and then we gave him the rest of the money when my parents came up. And I got pictures of the house, the way it looked before he actually fixed it.
I don't care what it looked like before he fixed it. That's irrelevant to me. And when did you move out of the house?
The first week of September, because he had a deposit and I was going through divorce and I had a lot of bills I had to pay.
I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to give him first and last.
I got him deposit and first month's rent.
So the deposit was for any damage that might be done and first month's rent.
Yes.
So you owed him rent in June.
Yes.
Did you pay him?
No.
Why not?
He never came to fix our house. My daughter's room had no carpet.
Just a second. Was there carpet before you moved in?
No, not my daughter's room.
Is there anything in the lease that provides that he has to provide for carpet?
It has to be livable.
No. Not everybody likes carpet, sir. Is there anything in this lease that provides that he has to provide carpet?
I'm pretty sure it does say something. And
Show me. I don't want to have to read the whole thing. Take a look. Show me where it says that your daughter's room has to be carpeted.
It says something about the conditions of the premises, including all grounds and buildings and improvements, unless they...
Listen to me. The word carpet.
I don't see carpet in here.
So the lease does not provide for carpet.
No.
Okay, so you didn't pay him for June. Your daughter's room had no carpet.
And her son's room had really old carpet. He said he was going to change in there. It was like shag carpet, and the whole house was completely destroyed.
Listen to me. You moved into it.
Yes.
If it wasn't ready, don't move in. So you moved in, and you didn't pay June's rent.
Yes.
Did you pay July's rent?
No. We had no...
Okay. Don't go there, sir.
Sorry.
I don't want to hear, you're fetching and complaining. You moved your family in, and as soon as you moved in, you stopped paying rent. That's what happened. I mean, that's the objective data.
Yeah.
You moved in, and you stopped paying rent. No June, no July, no August.
Yes.
And what were you doing with the rent money?
I was putting it toward my bills that I had from my divorce. I had a car that was 2 months behind, and like that. And we had a problem with her insurance and stuff at work. But the house was not livable. My dad.
Listen to me. If the house isn't livable, you move out. If it's not livable, you don't move in. And if it's not livable, you move out. You don't scam the landlord by moving in and saying, now I'm here. Now you can't get me out.
Wait, I had nowhere to live.
That's not his problem. Does he related to you by blood?
No.
Who cares if you have nowhere to live? Go live with a relative. Go live with your mother. Go live with your father. Go live with your sister. Go live with your brother. But don't move into a stranger's house and say, no, I'm not going to pay rent because I got bills for my divorce.
I mean, we gave him $1,800 for the month. He never came and fixed it.
Just a second.
Okay.
I gave you credit for May's rent because he wouldn't have let you move in unless you gave him the 2 months.
Yeah.
Right? So you gave him the 2 months and then you stopped paying him. Outrageous. I mean, you're a squatter. And it's an old scam. You got yourself in, you move yourself in, you say, listen, it's going to take the courts 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get me out. By that time, they're just going to be so happy to get rid of me that they'll just say, go, forget it. And then you move on to some other unsuspected. Outrageous. You get me?
I get you.
Good. If you don't like an apartment, if you don't like a house, you don't move in. Does that sound right to you? You're the police officer, is that right?
Sounds right, Judge.
Right? Nobody's twisting your arm. You don't like the shag carpet? Don't move in. Doesn't mean that much to you. You move in. You want carpet in your daughter's room? Go to Home Depot. Now, the second part of your complaint is that they called Child Protective Services on you.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, we never called Child Protective Services.
Just a second.
They called the police.
Can I ask quite the question, please? Did they call Child Protective Services?
The police did. Once the police came out.
So they called the police.
Yes.
Mr. Moreland,
Yes, Your Honor.
did you call the police?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me why. What month did you call the police?
August or June, somewhere around there.
Well, August and June are 2 different months. Officer,
I'm not sure, Your
Officer,
Honor.
could you stand up, please?
Yes, Judge.
Could you move over there? I know you're not a plaintiff's witness,
Certainly.
but you responded to the location where Mr. McLaughlin and Miss Browning were living.
Yes, I did.
You remember when that was, sir?
It was on June 25th.
And you responded because you got a call about what, sir?
We had a complaint on some photographs containing images of the adults with their children in pornographic poses.
And when you responded to the location, did you find anything?
No, ma'am, we did not. Not anything that related to the complaint.
Okay. Can you describe what you saw when you got to the premises?
When I arrived at the premises, I went inside the residence. The residence was in a messy state. There were boxes every place. It appeared as if somebody was moving out. Some trash, not anything that would be deplorable to live in, but it just appeared to be unorganized and a lot of boxes and packing going on.
But you found nothing untoward.
No.
Were you responsible for calling Child Protective Services?
No, ma'am.
Do you know who did?
More than likely, any reports that we take involving children in a case such as this gets forwarded to CPS automatically.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me, sir?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. You can have a seat. Okay. What made either one of you believe that there were photographs in there involving children?
There was, Your Honor. I haven't heard from McLaughlin for several months, and he didn't pay me for about 5 months, and he changed the locks on the premises, which on the lease it states here that if you don't pay rent or if you change the locks, I have the right to enter the premises.
Okay.
So I enter the home, and I see in the living room there's mattresses laying on the floor, 5 to 7 digital cameras laying around.
Did you,
Pictures.
Sir, officer, one more thing. When you went into the premises, did you see any mattresses on the floor?
Ma'am, I don't recall if there are any mattresses on the floor. I do remember the complaint of the video cameras. Mr. Moreland believed that there is some type of filming possibly going on involving the children in their rooms. When I responded, I checked on that complaint. I looked at the camera. Nothing that
What kind of
appeared to be-
cameras, sir? Still cameras, movie cameras?
There are several different kinds. Still cameras, some video recorders, camcorders, but nothing.
How many would you say?
Approximately 5 to 7, but they were in broken states. They didn't work. They were not set up on stands. I didn't see any evidence of any type of recording.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you take pictures of what you saw?
Yes, Your Honor, right
I'd like
next to the child's bed.
Cover all the pictures.
There was an open box of two open boxes, and he also had plenty of time before the police entered the property to dispose of what I seen.
Don't tell me, that's supposition.
That's not carpet. If I like to add some.
These were taken the day that you called the police? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. Officer, would you step up, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Would this be a fair and accurate representation of the condition of the house when you saw it?
Yes, that does appear to be taken in June.
Thank you. Mr. Moreland was perfectly right to pick up the phone and call the police and have them come to at least look into what was going on in that house. You moved in, according to you, on May the 3rd. This house looks like a disaster area, an absolute disaster area. And I'm not even addressing the pornographic material that's there, which, by the way, you acknowledge that you had in the house, but you say it was, in fact, put away so that the children couldn't reach it. Well, somebody reached it. It may have even been Mr. Moreland, but somebody reached it. I'm not even addressing the pornographic stuff that involved what appeared to be young children, which is weird. The condition of the house would lead a normal person to believe that something wasn't right there. So he had an absolute right to call the police, and the police had an absolute responsibility to call Child Protective Services. So your complaint is dismissed. Now let's get to your counterclaim. You're suing for the rent for the time that they lived there. Rent was how much a month?
$9.50.
When did they move out?
They actually moved out in October. They did not move out in June.
June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. $4,750. Listen, they're scammers.
I know you are.
Period. Squatters and scammers. And based upon the photographs that I saw, not very responsible parents either. Now, you don't mind my not going into this grill that they allegedly took? I don't care about a grill. They owe you for rent. And how much did it cost you, Mr. Moreland and Miss Cooper, to get them out? Or did they just move?
They eventually just moved, but trying to fix up the house after they left, we had to end up filing a bankruptcy because of the mortgage and everything else wasn't paid, and that cost us $4,200 just to file that.
So you see, when you have a problem with your ex-wife and bills that built up during the divorce, and you go to scam somebody else, what happens is they get hurt. It's a trickle-down effect because they didn't have money to pay the mortgage because you didn't pay the rent and you refused to move out of the house. Perfect strangers had trouble. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, both of you. And I certainly think Child Protective Services should give another look to where you're living now. Where are you living now?
Decatur Township.
You know where that is, sir?
I do, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,700. Claim is dismissed. That's all.
17-year-old Tomas Plancarte Benson says former friend Daniel Tingen cheated him out of $200. Daniel claims he and Tomas were partners in a bank scam.
Mrs. Benson, this is your son, Mr. and Mrs. Naylor, your son, and it is your claim, Miss Benson, that the defendant's son defrauded your son out of a couple of $100.
That's correct.
By some sort of scam with your son's ATM card. Mr. and Mrs. Naylor say that this was not a scam by their son, but sort of a thing that both boys did because they wanted some money, and your son is just not prepared to fess up that he was complicit in this little scam. So he's blamed their son.
Okay.
So why don't the parents sit down for a second, because they weren't there, they don't know what happened. The only two people that know what happened are these two people who were standing in front of me. Your first name is what?
Tomas.
And yours?
Daniel.
Daniel, how long have you and Tomas been friends?
For a couple of years now.
So why don't you tell me, Tomas, your version of what happened and when it happened?
All right. This situation all started on January 23rd of this year when I had lent Mr. Tingen $40 from my own bank account.
Where were you when he asked you for the money?
I was at home.
And where was the money?
It was in my bank account.
And where was he?
At his house, I presume, yeah.
Well, how did he contact you, sir?
Yeah, he called me. He had called me from his house.
And said what?
And said he needed $20. The first time. There's two transactions here. One earlier in the evening and then one later. And
Look at me, sir.
I'm trying to collect myself. I'm very nervous.
He called you once and said, I need $20, not 40.
It's 40. He asked me for 40 altogether. The first time he said he needed money for...
Mr. Benson, you're tripping all over yourself, sir. Look at me. You're tripping all over yourself, Tomas.
I'm very sorry. I'm very nervous.
Get unnervous, Mr. Benson.
It's very hard. Sorry.
He called you in your house on January 23rd and said, I need...
$20 first.
Okay. And you said...
Okay. I didn't ask him what he needed it for.
I didn't ask you. And then what did you do? Did you say, I'll meet you at my bank? Come over,
yeah. I said I'd meet him halfway there. Like, there's a street that we meet at, and then we head to my bank.
So you went to your bank on January 23rd and took out $20?
Yeah, just $20 first.
And you gave it to him?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And then he called me later that evening and
Just a minute. Then he went home and you went home?
Yeah. And we went home.
Go ahead.
And then he called me later that evening saying he needed another $20. And so I said, all right, but that's kind of a lot of money that I'm lending to you. Could you pay me interest on it or something? And he agreed $10 interest, which would make it $50. And that was our agreement. And the way he was going to pay me back was getting a check from his grandma in the amount of $250 later that week. He was supposed to be getting this check. So then we agreed that I would cash this check through my bank. Then afterwards, I waited till for...
Look at me. Don't look there.
I'm sorry. So then I was going to wait for a call from him. And then I finally got the call on February 2nd, Wednesday. And he said that he finally got his check from his grandma. And we'd met up and we headed to my bank. And I looked at the check and it was in the amount of $250. I signed my name to pay to the order of Tomas Benson. I have all this information right here. I have all this evidence.
I didn't ask you for anything. I asked you to tell me the story.
All right, we headed to my bank. I had looked at the check, seen that it was in the right amount.
You told me about that already.
Yeah, and then I put it in the envelope, put it on the ledge, grabbed my wallet to get my bank card out to the bank, put it in the machine, typed in the amount, $250 deposit, and sometime between that time, I believe that he had switched the envelope. He took an envelope with the check in it, and
Don't tell me what you believe, sir. I'm not interested what you believe.
But yeah, I put it on the ledge. I typed in that I would deposit it.
You told me that already.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you.
Don't tell me again. I have a very good memory.
Then I put the envelope into the bank, and then I withdrew $200 from my own account, and I gave it to him then, because I thought the $50 was supposed to be mine, and then I'd give him $200 out of my own bank to make it even. And then afterwards, we just parted ways.
Subsequently, you advised that they had no envelope, they had no check, they had no nothing, and your bank account became overdrawn. Is that right?
No, I had money in my account.
Okay, but you were advised then that the account never was credited with $250 in that check. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you thought that was a big scam. Mr. Benson, after you gave him the $200 in cash, where did you go?
Back to my house.
Where did he go?
I'm not very sure.
Okay, go. Let's start with January 23rd with the two $20 bills.
That's not true. He never loaned me $20 two times. That's not true at all.
I have statements here.
You don't have a bank statement showing that you lent him $20 twice? You have a bank
but I
statement
have
that they withdrew $20?
Two withdrawals for the amount of $20.
So what? He says you never lent him any money.
Well,
That's
I
what
can
he
show you
says.
my bank statements here. They show there's 2 transactions on that day.
I believe that there are 2 transactions on that day, sir.
Could I
But you
show
have no proof. I believe that there were 2 transactions on January 23rd. There is absolutely nothing to suggest that those 2 transactions had anything to do with him, other than your testimony. Is that right? Is that right?
I guess, yes.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, on January 27th, when he did pull up the $200, we both split the $200 with that. I was supposed to, in interest, I was supposed to give him $50 later for it.
Just a second. You're getting ahead of yourself, Daniel. On the 27th, what happened?
Okay, me and Thomas met up. We had an idea. We were going to go deposit a slip with no check in it. We both knew what we were doing.
Just a second. On the 27th, you were going to deposit a slip.
Yes.
Just a deposit slip.
Yes.
Whose idea was this?
It was both of ours.
So you were going to put in just a deposit slip with no check.
Yes.
Draw out $200, but you would owe him $150. $50 of that was interest.
Yes, which I would have to pay later.
What made you and the defendant get together with this little scheme?
Because we wanted money to go out and party that night.
What night?
That night that we did it. I'm not quite sure what day it was, February 2nd, I guess.
Did you go out afterwards?
Yes.
The 2 of you?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Just to people's houses and stuff.
Well, what'd you need money for?
To buy stuff.
Drugs?
Go out and party. No, not drugs.
What?
Alcohol.
Did you go to mutual friends' houses? Look at me. Did you go to mutual friends' houses?
Yes and no.
What do you mean yes and no?
Well, I didn't know some of the people. We went over to somebody else's house I didn't know. We went over to one of my buddies' house that we both knew.
What's his name?
Josh.
Your Honor, I was barred from the premises of Cherry Park Apartments, so I could not go over to Joshua's house.
Why were you barred from there?
Because of an incident with my brother.
No. He got kicked out because they found out that he was dealing.
Dealing what?
Drugs.
No, I had actually been barred because I had a fight with my older brother who also lived in the apartments.
Tomas, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
What is it that doesn't make sense?
Your slick story. Now, Daniel, at first when this scam was discovered, what did you tell your parents?
They didn't tell me anything about it at first. I just thought that the less they knew, the better, I guess, at the time. I know I did something wrong. I didn't really want to fess up to it at the time, but now I think it's the right time. I shouldn't be blamed for everything. We did it 50-50. I'm admitting that we both did it and it was wrong, but I don't want to be the only one to blame.
Okay.
And another thing here.
Is that a police report?
Oh, yes, it is.
Can I see it, please?
And here's the case suit, which here, I'll show you both of them.
Miss Benson, is your son on probation?
No, he's not.
Had he been?
No.
You hesitated there for a moment.
He is going to LifeWorks program that he's going because he had a drug and alcohol problem.
When did he start it? You can stand up now.
He started, I think, in January of this year, I believe it was.
Ms. Benson, when did you find out about this money?
Right after the incident happened.
Well, tell me about how you found out about it.
I had found out because Thomas had gotten a letter in the mail saying that there wasn't a check in the envelope. And so he had come to me and told me he was very furious. And then he had made contact with the bank to find out what happened. He wanted an investigation.
So the first you found out about it was when your son came to you.
Yes.
And showed you what?
Showed me the letter he'd gotten from the bank.
Which is right here.
Yeah, I believe that there was nothing in the envelope.
And I would have no reason to put a fake deposit slip in there because I had money in the bank already. If I really wanted to party, I could just pull money out of my bank and it'd be no problem.
Who handles this account for him?
He does.
How old was he when you let him start to take care of this money?
He started working when he was about 15, and he's really good with his money, very tight-fisted, and that's what I don't understand.
Well, he's not so tight-fisted if he was using some of his money for illegal things.
That is true.
Yeah, that's
However, I mean, when this incident happened, there would be no reason for him to put a fake deposit slip in there. If he already had money in there, all he had to do was just go out and pull it out.
That's true.
And they cut.
That's the only thing that I find troubling. Stand up. The only thing that I find troubling, quite frankly, is if this was his mother's bank account, or one that was a joint bank account, and they had, in fact, his mother of the money,
right?
I could understand he would stick to his story. But this was his money. If he was going to take money out of that account to split to go partying, he can do that.
Yeah, we're not denying the whole story. I'm saying the whole thing sounds fishy to me.
Well, it does sound fishy to me, but my question, the question that I have to ask myself, why would Mr. Benson get this letter from the bank on February 2nd that says there was no check in this deposit envelope and take it to show his mother?
I have no idea.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me
because
either.
if what he wanted to do was take out $200 and go partying with his friend, he would have done that. So why would he do this?
I have no idea.
Can you think of a reason?
Well, we weren't exactly both sober at the time either. We were the influence of alcohol, too.
You were?
Yes.
If you were under the influence of alcohol, why would he make up this story about a check and an envelope? Where had you been drinking?
Or we just walking around and stuff around town.
We hadn't been drinking. I wasn't drinking at all.
Well, first, when this whole thing started, they did come over to our house, and I was in the other room, and my husband was asking Thomas about this check, and he said that there was a check. My husband asked, okay, what was the color of it? Do you remember whose name was on it? What is the extra $50 for? And he said he was charging him $50 for cashing a check. And my husband asked him, why would you charge somebody $50 for cashing a check? I'm not, if these boys both did something, I didn't have a problem of paying the money back. I just wanted to come down to the bottom of the truth. And that's why I feel like we're here today.
Well, as I said to you, my problem is, why would he go to his mother?
Exactly.
If he was complicit in this incident.
I have no idea.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. The bank says there was no check enclosed as a result. We've debited your account. Due to the nature of this transaction, we have disabled your ATM card to ensure that nobody is going to use it, but you can get another ATM card.
Actually, they would not reissue me a card.
They cut it up right there.
Yeah.
And they won't give you another one?
No.
They were very sorry they had to do it because
and I was
he had built
very
a report
embarrassed
with
and
them.
humiliated because I would never defraud my bank. I knew everybody there very well, and I was very responsible with my money. I budgeted very well.
Well, that's not true. You bought some drugs with your money.
Every now and then.
What?
Every now and then, but...
Right. So that's not 100% accurate, right?
Well, compared to other people my age, I believe. Because a lot of people my age don't have bank accounts, don't have as much money as I did.
Miss Benson, he's very slick. He really is. He's very slick. I'm not sure, and I'm not convinced.
Well, I don't think he would have gone through all this trouble. Yeah. I mean, making a police report.
He just gave me a reason. When did they cut up your bank card?
A few days after I received that letter, though.
Few days. Just listen to me carefully. When did you make a police report?
It was April 3rd or 4th.
After they cut up your bank card?
Yeah.
April 13th.
It was after they cut up my bank card.
Well, that's a reason. That's a reason.
We tried to contact them. We were told by the officer that took the report to contact the family that it was a civil matter, and our phone number was blocked.
I don't care. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about whether your son was aware of the fact that there was nothing in this deposit slip that the two boys brought to the bank in order
I did not know that. I thought.
Listen! That's my job to figure out. He gave me a perfectly cogent story. You did not give me a perfectly cogent story. I'm still not comfortable that you were actually part of it. But I'm not comfortable enough, quite frankly, Mr. Benson, of $20 here and $20 there and another $10 in interest, making it $50. I don't know what it was about. Maybe it was drug money. Maybe he was selling you something. Who knows? I'm not comfortable with your whole story. I'm also not comfortable with saying to you that you were part of the scheme. That's not what I have to determine today. What I have to determine today is whether or not they're going to pay you either all or half of what came out of your bank. And since what you're asking me for is to make a determination that the nailers owe you $250, I'm not prepared to do that because I'm not totally comfortable with your story.
Ma'am,
What?
it's 200, not 250.
Thank you for correcting me, sir. What difference does it make?
That's correct. What difference does it make?
Right.
My son had also asked.
There's no further issue. I'm not prepared to rule that you are entitled to $200 from the defendant because I'm not totally comfortable with your story, Tomas.
All right. Can I show you some emails that I had sent him beginning March 27th?
No, show me
22nd.
emails that he sent to you.
Well,
They're answering them right here.
Does he acknowledge that he owes you the money?
Yes.
Let me take a look at it.
This began March.
Hand them all.
This was on the.
Shh. See these emails?
No.
I have more right here.
Yeah,
too.
I also have more right here.
Continuation of all that.
What's that all about, sir?
These aren't even from me.
Yeah, they are from you. What do you think
No,
about that, sir?
They're not. Seriously, they're not from me.
Who's Rob's dad?
Robert was his next door neighbor.
And what kind of work does he do for Rob's dad?
Who? I'm sorry,
Your
who?
son.
He does. They can do yard work for him.
And has he done that in the past?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what it says there. I'm doing work for Rob's dad.
Yeah, but I didn't write most of this.
Couldn't have made it up.
Shh. Got it? Look at me, Mr. and Mrs. Naylor. Now you got it?
Yeah, I understand. I just don't understand about the check. This is what the whole weird thing is.
Listen, I don't understand about the checks either. I don't. And I'm not certain whether Tomas is talking about $100 or $200, because nowhere in there does it say how much you think he owes you, because according to him, he acknowledges he owes you $100, right?
Yes.
But not $200.
No. I asked for another check, actually.
Well, why would you ask for another check? If he didn't have a good check the first time, why would he give you a good check the second time from his grandmother?
I'm not.
Interesting. And you did write that, Daniel.
Not all of it, though.
Daniel!
Daniel, just tell the truth. If you
Not all of it, though. I'm telling them, but yeah.
So you acknowledged you owed him some money.
Yes.
Yes.
And you acknowledged that you had a job and that you were going to get him some money.
Yes.
The question is 100 or 200. Is that it?
It's 100.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's all.
23-year-old Patricia Serrano is suing her former friend, Elda Lugo, for a $3,500 loan plus interest. Elda claims Patricia gave her the money from a large settlement.
Ms. Serrano, according to your complaint, the defendant is a friend of yours from high school. She ran into some financial difficulty some time ago and approached you about lending her some money.
Yes, Judge.
You were a good friend. You lent her the money, $3,500. She didn't pay you back. You want your money back.
Yes.
Ms. Lugo says that you were a good friend to her. You gave her $3,500. You would come into some money. There was never any discussion of payback. As far as she was concerned, it was a gift.
That's beg to differ.
When did you graduate from high school, Ms. Lugo?
In June of 2001.
And between June of 2001 and the date of this loan or gift, which was on what date?
Last year, around August or July.
How often did you see each other?
After high school, we didn't see each other because we stopped being friends. And after she had a really bad car accident, her mom came and I started being her friend again. That's when we started.
What year?
I honestly do not recall what year she had a car accident.
What year?
It was in 2002, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about the day you approached Ms. Serrano with your money troubles.
I did not approach her. I was just telling her my problems that I had with my family.
Shh, I don't. Listen, if you interrupt again, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand?
Yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just told her I was having really hard times with my parents. I was having a lot of financial problems.
What kind of financial problems were you having, Miss Lugo?
My mom stopped making the payments, so they took my car from me.
How old are you?
23.
Why was your mother making your car payments for you?
Because we're both on the loan, and I was giving her the money, and she was making the payments out of her account.
Who were you working for at the time?
Bay Cities National Bank.
So why weren't you paying the money directly?
Because that was just an arrangement that I had with my mom.
Your money?
I'm not saying she stole the money. I'm just saying that she wasn't making the payments, and they took the car from me.
So you're saying that if you gave your mother the money and your mother wasn't making the car payments,
She was using it for something else.
That she stole your money?
I guess.
And you told Ms. Serrano that your mother stole your money and they repossessed your car?
I told Patricia the problems that I was having with my parents and why they took my car from me.
Miss Lugo, I don't hear that that's a problem that you're having with your parents. If I believe what you're telling me, which I don't, you're telling me that your mother stole the money that you were giving her for your car loan and using it for her own purposes, and therefore they repossessed your car and you wanted to get it back.
Right.
Now, is that what you want me to believe?
That's the truth. That's exactly how everything's
When did you move
been.
out of your mother's house?
Early September.
So you stayed in your mother's house another year after she stole your money?
Actually,
see where I'm going? So you had more financial difficulties than just this alleged theft by your mother of your money.
I couldn't just leave my house and just leave everything, like all my parents and my sisters behind.
Well, if I were living with somebody that stole my money and as a result of that my car was repossessed, I certainly wouldn't live there.
In June, I actually drove to Vegas, and I was going to move over there with my cousin.
That's June 2006. We're still talking about 10 months that you were living with your mother, the thief, if I believe you, which I
Right,
don't.
I really didn't have a choice. I mean,
Okay, you're 23 years old. You always have a choice. Okay, now I'm going to get to you, Miss Serrano. Now that I'm getting the personalities in order.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when she approached you in August of 2005 about this money.
Well, she told me the story that her car had gotten repossessed.
Did she tell you how it got repossessed?
Well, she didn't give me a straight answer. I never really did get straight answers from her.
That's a lie.
Don't interrupt. Go ahead.
You know, she came to me, she said, Patty, I haven't been able to make the payments. My mom and my dad aren't helping me out. I just don't have anywhere else to go to for money.
That's not true.
And I said, well, if you need help, feel free to come to me. She said, well, thank you so much. And a couple of days later, she came to me. She said, Patty, I need to take you up on your offer. Can you lend me $3,500? And I said, sure thing, I'll write you a check. And I'm not too sure if it was a day or two later that she said, it's too much trouble to go about, you know, with the check. I can't cash it. She even told me that her mom had found the check and was questioning her about the check.
That's not true.
Why, you know, why I was giving her a check for $3,500. And she said, well, I'll give you back the check, and can you please give me $3,500 in cash? I said, wow, you know, I'm like, okay, let me see what I can work out. And I went to the bank, withdrew $3,500 cash.
Let me see from your bank. The
yeah, it's right here. It's highlighted in yellow.
Where did you get all this money from?
I was involved in a very serious car accident in 2002, and I got a small settlement out of it.
Large settlement.
Oh, that's interesting, Miss Lugo. Did you say a large settlement? How large?
I don't know.
When you said it was a large settlement, you must know something about the settlement.
That's all she would always say. She got a large settlement. I never wanted to ask
I never
how much.
told you anything.
Shh. When did she tell you about this large settlement?
After she was recovering from her injuries.
When did you get the settlement?
Sometime in 2004.
You still have any of the money left?
Yes, I do. Some in investments.
Good. So you gave her $3,500 in cash.
Yes.
And what was the arrangement about paying you back?
She said, okay, Patty, you know I wouldn't have done this if I really didn't need it. Believe me, I'm going to have this money to you tops the end of the year when I get my bonus from the bank.
That's not true.
So I said, okay, you know what?
What part of keep quiet don't you understand?
I didn't see the money. She said, well, you know, I just need a couple of more months, whatever. And I said, okay, you know, just don't forget about it. You know, I'm being your friend here.
When for the first time, Miss Lugo, did the plaintiff ask for this money back?
Early September.
That's a lie.
So what part don't you understand?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation when she asked you for the money back.
She started calling me at work, and she started emailing me at work.
What would she say when she called?
She was just calling me, telling me that she needed to meet me somewhere.
When did she, for the first time, ask you for the money back? Answer my question.
I believe her first email was September 7th.
That's not true.
Shh. Next time you're gone. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I assume you want me to consider giving you your money back.
Yes, please.
Then don't do it again. September 6th, and what did she say in the email? Do you have a copy of that email?
No, I don't.
Do you have a copy of the email?
Yes.
I want to see the email from September 6th.
She emailed me a promissory note that she wanted me to sign, that she saying that I owed her the money, and because.
Shh. Well, you emailed her and you said to her that you planned on giving her the money.
Yeah, she was calling me at work nonstop, and she was just harassing me.
No, this has nothing to do with a response to harassment.
That's only the email that she gave you, but she didn't tell you about the phone calls that she was making to work.
I just want to see the emails. This is Wednesday, September 6th, and it's a lovely email. Absolutely lovely. You're happy for her. You're happy that she's happy. Hey, I'm not sure what's gone wrong between us again, but I really appreciate everything you have done for me and the times you've been there for me. I guess we are once again going our own separate roads. If it's the money thing, it's stopping you, don't worry. I will give it to you. Do me a favor. Please do not email me at the bank. I get in trouble for receiving personal emails.
My manager talked to me, and she was telling me that I was receiving too many personal emails. She emailed me.
Listen to me. She wants her money back.
Yeah, after she was trying to get with my boyfriend, she was trying to hook up with my boyfriend, and I confronted her about it. Until then is when she came back and wanted me to sign a promissory note and said that the gift that she gave me for $3,500 was then the loan.
I don't see why somebody who doesn't look like they're rolling in dough would give you $3,500 and not expect to be repaid at some point. Not necessarily in a week, not necessarily in a month or 6 months or even a year. But someday, within a reasonable period of time, when you got your act together, if you ever get your act together, she expected her money back. And to stand there at this point and say, well, she tried to get over on my boyfriend, and that wasn't right, and therefore I'm not paying her a dime, that's the wrong thing to do. It's not the moral thing to do. You want to end a relationship with her? Terrific. Do it. You're not friends anymore? You don't want to be friends anymore? Fine. But she was there for you when you needed her. And you're supposed to do the moral right thing and pay her her money. Just for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
Twintis is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Christopher Peterson, for a bounced rent check and the resulting fees.
Miss Davis, you and Mr. Peterson lived together for a period of time. He was your boyfriend. Your financial arrangement was that you would give him your half of the rent check, he would put in his half of the rent and pay the landlord. But according to you, you gave him your half of the rent for October of 2006. You had an argument somewhere the beginning of October where you called the police and had him removed from the house. And he left. He left and he closed the bank account on which this check was drawn, so the check bounced. You remained in the apartment and were forced, according to you, to pay the entire rent, including his half of the rent. Mr. Peterson says, through really no fault of his own, you weren't getting along, you'd had an argument, you went to the police, you had him removed, he wasn't living there, he doesn't have to pay rent, right?
That's right.
So, Ms. Davis, when did you move in together?
May of 05.
And when did this incident occur? October of 06?
Yes.
What day in October?
October 9th, I believe.
Is that right?
That's wrong.
What date?
October 6th.
Now, Ms. Davis, you're going to tell me exactly what happened on October the 6th.
On October the 6th, Mr. Peterson went out to my car without my permission, went into my car, grabbed a pack of cigarettes out of my car for himself and one for me as well. I did not ask him to do this. He did not have permission to go out to my car. When he came back and I discovered that he had taken a pack for himself as well, I was a little upset. And I confronted him on it, and he lied to me.
What did you say?
I asked him if he had taken the pack, why he had taken it without asking me. And he said that he never took a pack and called me a liar. When I confronted him on it and he lied to me yet again, I got upset and basically told him I was done with the lies in the relationship. And when I told him I was done with the relationship, he didn't take that kindly. He said he was not going to give up on the relationship, that he was not going to leave, he wasn't going to give up on us. And when I told him that he did not have a choice, because I was done, he started punching himself in the face.
Show me how he did that.
He was pacing back and forth in the room that we were talking in and just started pounding on himself.
So?
I got scared and I went over to my friend's house.
Okay, he didn't touch you, he didn't put his hands on you?
No.
Okay, so you left and you went to your friend's house.
Yes.
And?
And the next morning, I was afraid to go home, so I went to the police.
What'd you go to the police for? To take you home?
I did not feel safe to go home with the state of mind that he was in.
Okay, so what did you want the police to do?
To remove him.
Why?
So that I could go home.
Well, it was his home too.
But I was not safe in my own home.
But it was his home.
It was his home too, yes.
So if you're not safe, he hasn't done anything to threaten you. He hasn't done anything to harm you. He hasn't put his hands on you. If anything, he was, according to you, he was hurting himself. He was acting, in a self-destructive way. So if you felt unsafe because you didn't like his mental state, why didn't you just leave?
I didn't feel I should have to pack up everything in the apartment that was mine and leave because he was unstable.
Can I see what you told the police, please?
I filed for an order of protection. I didn't have a police report.
What did you say in the report that gave you an order of protection?
I told them exactly what happened.
No, I can't believe anybody issued you an order of protection based on that. Oh, you lied.
No.
Oh, yes, you did.
No.
You said to the police the reason that you were coming to ask for assistance is because he physically threatened you by raising an object over his head to throw it at you and yelled and screamed and called her names.
He had done this prior to this date.
Evicted from the house. You had reason to leave yourself if you wanted to leave, but you had no reason to force him out of the house. None whatsoever. Okay. Mr. Peterson, you want to tell me your version of the events? What happened? First of all, I don't understand this business about going out. You live together, you're sharing a house, you're sharing a bedroom, you have an intimate relationship, and she gets upset because you went out and took 2 packs of cigarettes instead of 1. Did you go out to the car to get a pack of cigarettes for her?
I went out to the car to grab a pack of cigarettes for her. I asked her that night, and she said yes.
He'd never
No, don't speak now. Don't speak. You have to be quiet. Because it's his turn to testify. Did you see how quiet he was when you were testifying? Now it's his turn.
I asked her permission the night before to grab a pack of cigarettes.
Are you on some sort of medication? Listen to me, Miss Davis. Are you on medication?
No.
Then I can speak to you frankly. I said it once. When you were testifying, he was quiet. He didn't interrupt. Now it's your turn to be quiet and allow me to take his testimony. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Good.
The night before, I did ask permission to go to her car and get a pack of cigarettes for myself. She was okay with that.
I don't understand why there was this whole big hullabaloo because of the cigarettes, so it must have been something else fomenting in the relationship for a while.
It was because I was also unemployed for at least 3 weeks, and she
was annoyed because you weren't working and weren't buying the cigarettes.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So what happened when you came inside, Mr. Peterson?
What happened was I came inside. I went to try to get into my bedroom. She had the master bedroom door blocked. I don't know why she had it all blocked, but after an hour and a half, 2 hours later, she had the door open. There was this mysterious odor in the air, as if she was smoking something funky.
Mr. Peterson, did you at any time on the 6th of October threaten Miss Davis?
No.
Did you at any time on the 6th of October pick up an object to throw at her?
No.
Had that ever happened in the past?
No.
Did she give you her half of the rent?
Yes, she did.
For October?
Yes, she did.
And you didn't pay any of the rent?
I did pay the rent. I had my half in my checking account. She gave me her half. When I closed out my checking account, I made sure that all the money was still in the account.
Okay. How much out of pocket are you, Miss Davis?
I'm out $914.
From what?
I gave him $467, plus his half of the rent, plus the late fees and the non-sufficient
His half of the rent he's not giving you.
He's still on the lease.
I don't care whether he's still on the lease. You threw him out of the house without just cause. You threw him out by lying to the police. And listen to me, and you're not being rewarded for that. If you felt unsafe about going back to your home because you felt as if he wasn't acting in an appropriate way, then you go stay with your friend, you stay with your family, you find a new apartment. But you don't lie to the police and have him thrown out. So you're not getting his half of the rent. Period. The money that you gave him, that he is responsible for if you didn't get it back. Now, so my question is, did you get that money back?
I have not seen any money from him.
So how much was his half of the rent?
$363.
And you gave him $467?
I gave him $467.
Why would you give him $467 if his half was $363?
Part of it was supposed to go toward another bill that did not get paid as well.
What bill?
A credit card bill.
Okay, well, then that's what he owes you, $467, not $900. You had no right to throw him out of the apartment, and you absolutely didn't have any right to lie to the police. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $467. That's
Do
all.
I get
Thank
the
you.
late fees or anything like that?
Absolutely not, madam. You had no right to throw him out of the apartment. None. Zero.
He could have said something, and so I could have covered the rest of the rent before it was late.
He could have said a lot of things. You also should not have gone to the police and perjured yourself. That's all.
Darla Sailors is suing 25-year-old Sally Coffey and her father, Paul Wick, for a refund on a 1996 Saturn. Darla claims she was sold a lemon.
Miss Sailors, how old are you?
32 years old.
How many cars have you had?
3.
New or used?
Used.
When you bought a used car prior to this one, were they always running? Were you able to drive them from where you purchased them home?
Yes, ma'am.
Because when you buy a car, what you want is a car that takes you from one place to another. If you wanted a geranium potter, you would buy something that just sat in your backyard and where you could pot geraniums, right?
That's right.
So this is what your lawsuit is about. You purchased a used car from the defendants for $400.
Yes, ma'am.
And the car, at the time you purchased it, was not running. So you had to tow it to your house or tow it to someplace.
That's correct.
And then you found out that the car was a real piece of junk. So you had to tow to their house and you want your money back. They say you bought that car as is. It was a piece of junk when they sold it to you. That's why they sold it for $400. That's not what they say, but that's what I figure. And when you towed it back to their house, you damaged their garage door. So they are counterclaiming for $500. Correct?
Correct.
Let me see the bill of sale. Thank you.
I also have a letter that she mailed me the day I dropped the car off at her house. There's no mention of any damage, as well as I have pictures of the drop-off of the vehicle, Your Honor.
Well, that's about the counterclaim. Let's see about this.
Okay.
All right, Miss Sailors, I'm going to read this to you because I have a lot of cases to do today. This is a bill of sale. It's a very clear bill of sale. It says the seller warrants, this is what they warrant to you, that they have good title to the property, to the car, and they have full authority to sell the car. Do you?
Yes.
And that the property is sold free and clear of all liens, right?
True. Correct.
Encumbrances, liabilities, and adverse claims of any nature. And then in big bold letters, bigger than anything else on this bill of sale, it says that said assets, which is the car, are otherwise sold in as-is condition and where presently located.
Yes, ma'am.
They signed it and swore to it. You signed it.
With this sign agreeing to what is on the sign as it was sold. This sign says the engine runs great, that there's only 2 minor repairs. I have pictures of it on the car. That is where my grief comes in. She told me that my car would be worth $3,000 had I put a serpentine belt on it, and that's it, and a cooling system. She guarantees the engine running great.
No, she doesn't.
It's in the sign she put on the car.
No, she doesn't. She guarantees, listen to me. That is what you call puffing. Engine runs great. A 32-year-old person who has owned 3 cars before knows that if you have to tow the car off their property, the engine doesn't run great. Because if the only thing that had to be fixed on this car was a belt, and then you could sell it for $3,000, these people don't look like idiots. Put on a belt on the car and sell it for $3,000. This is what you purchased, an as-is car for $400. Now, let me get to your counterclaim. It says, on August 3rd, you abandoned your vehicle on my property. I attempted to contact you and request that you remove the vehicle. My telephone calls were not returned. Consequently, I had no choice but to have your vehicle towed. It is now located at Rancho del Rio Towing. Their telephone number is, the tow truck informed me you have 3 days to claim it. Subsequent to that, it will be sold at a lien sale. How come you don't talk about the garage door?
It wasn't something I intended on pursuing.
Good, perfect, so that you don't have to bother me with it now. The car was subsequently sold?
I have never inquired into
Did you ever go to the towing company to try to get your car back?
Well, I didn't have the money to go get the car out. She had it towed, and they wanted a tow bill, and that's all she sent. And she sent me the bill of sale the same day she sent me that. That bill of sale I got.
You shouldn't have.
I know.
You
I
shouldn't.
was stupid.
Listen, well, so what do you want from me?
But
I'm not here to
I
make you
want
smart, madam. When you purchase a used car that says purchased as is, and more importantly, if it doesn't run, and that's the purpose of buying a car, to take you from one place to another.
Well, my
and this
mechanic-
car, I'm speaking, and this car you had to have towed.
Right.
From one place to another. It would give you a clue.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. You could tell me from today till tomorrow. You had a contract of sale. Contract of sale is you do not go outside the four corners of this contract. This is the only contract that exists. Not what was in the window, not what was in the window, not what was in your mind, not what was in their mind. Only this contract of sale. It's a cheap lesson. I hope you learn, and I hope everybody else out there learns.
Well, it was kind of like it was misleading because she says the engine runs great. She said,
Madam, the engine didn't run. You couldn't even tell.
He
Put
told
your
me
hand.
not to tow
Listen,
it.
Does it look like you're losing?
I mean,
and say nothing. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
Brian Borges is suing his former friend, Darla Grote, for her share of a hotel room in Cabo San Lucas. Carla says Brian agreed to pick up the tab.
Mr. Borges, I gather from your complaint that you and Miss Grote were friends. You both are single parents, is that right?
That's correct.
And it is your claim that Miss Grote accompanied you and your daughter on a trip to Mexico.
Correct.
And it is your claim that she owes you money for expenses for that trip.
Correct.
The defendant, who acknowledges she went on the trip with you, says that you had an agreement that as long as she paid for the airline tickets for both herself and her daughter, you would cover the rest of the expenses while you were in Mexico.
Correct.
How old is your daughter?
She's 13.
And Mr. Borges, you have?
A 13-year-old daughter.
And these 13-year-olds go to school together? Are they friends?
Correct.
Is that how you know each other?
Correct.
I understand that you were out for dinner with Miss Grote at a time when you were discussing this trip.
Yes, we.
So my first question is, was this the first time you and the defendant had been out to dinner together?
Yes.
How did that come
On
about?
the phone and wanted to know if I'd like to go to dinner with her.
And you had not dated before?
No.
So now, Mr. Borges, tell me about the conversation that you had at dinner about this vacation that you were planning, and I understand Ms. Grote was planning for her daughter as well.
There was approximately 9 of us going to Mexico.
Who was going?
Me, my witness, Will, Perry and his kids, my daughter.
So it was single dads?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about the conversation you had with Ms. Grote.
Well, the conversation got brought up that we were going to Mexico and she and her daughter were going to Seattle and they would like to go, and I explained to her where we were going to stay, what the costs were. She said she couldn't afford it if she went by herself, so she was going to have a friend of hers come along with her so she could afford the hotel room.
Is that this person?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it came down to the point where we had to pay for our hotel rooms. Darla stated she didn't have the money. She was wanting to pay her hotel when we got there. Well, the hotel wouldn't work it that way. So I explained to her that I would pay the hotel room, but she was going to pay me back when she got to Mexico. And she agreed.
How much was the room?
Their share was $700, $350 for her and $350 for a friend.
What happened when you got to Mexico?
She didn't have a credit card to put down on the room. I put my credit card down on the room. Told her don't charge anything on the room. I mean, promptly started charging things on the room.
Like what?
Just long distance phone calls, Cosmic Bar, towel deposits, things
Can
of
I
that
see
nature.
that, please? What do you do for a living, Miss Grote?
I'm a regional trainer.
And you don't have a credit card?
I have a credit card, but not that high of a limit on it.
What's the limit on your credit card?
It's only at 1,000, and it was full.
What happened next, Mr. Borges?
So I went up to the hotel desk, told them that they needed to shut my credit card off. And at this point, I knew she didn't have any money, so I told them that I wasn't going to be responsible for paying the bill.
What made you think she didn't have any money?
Well, it all started at the airport when the taxi came. They didn't have any money. You know, it was just borrowing money. She borrowed money from Will the entire trip.
Who paid for the cab? I'm sorry.
She got mad the first night because she had to pay for her own dinner. Next day, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to deal with it because she's upset because where we went to dinner, she said was too expensive. It got into a big argument at the pool that afternoon. I was talking to somebody at the pool. She got upset. Her friend got upset. She thought I asked somebody else out for dinner that evening, which I hadn't.
Was there any discussion with Ms. Grote that the two of you were going on that trip as a couple?
Oh, we discussed that was not the case because...
That was?
Not the case.
When did you discuss that?
The first evening at
Well,
the
tell me
restaurant.
about that discussion.
I told her if she was going to go on the vacation, it was a single dad's deal, that she had to understand that this wasn't going to be a romantic trip.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
We did go to dinner the first night and discussed the trip. I had actually told him I was going to Seattle with my daughter over the 4th of July. We did not talk about money or anything that night. About a week or two after that dinner, we had kept talking about going to Cabo.
You mean you were talking on the telephone?
Talking on the telephone.
But you only went out for dinner once.
One time. So we had talked about it, and I says, well, what are we talking as? And he came back with a price, I think it was $1,800 or $1,900. And I told him, I made it very clear to him that I could not afford to go on that trip.
So why did you go?
Well,
my question.
I could go if I paid the airline because he offered to take care of the hotel.
Why would you do that, Ms. Grote?
I'm sorry, do what? Go on the vacation?
Absolutely.
I don't know. It was a mistake.
It was a big mistake. Why in the world would you expect somebody who you were not involved with?
We were involved.
No, you were not involved with. You went out for dinner. According to what I'm hearing, you went out for dinner one time on your invitation. And maybe you were hoping for more of a romantic relationship. But as far as I'm hearing, this was not a committed relationship. So why in the world would you expect someone else to pay your freight? Why would you permit somebody else to pay your freight?
By that point, my daughter had found out about the trip. The daughters were talking about it, and I told him, I made it very clear that I could not afford the hotel.
Then you should not have gone.
Well, maybe not.
Then you should not have gone, and you certainly shouldn't have gone and invited somebody else to go with you. You see, that's how I know.
No.
That's how I know that what you're telling me is not true. Because if you were going with some sort of an expectation that this was going to be a romantic getaway for the two of you, you wouldn't have invited a girlfriend.
Can I finish telling you what the reason the girlfriend went is because he had called me and asked me if I had any single girlfriends I could bring.
That is not
for
true.
his friend.
That is not true.
He called me and he says, okay, I've taken care of the room. Can all the girls stay in with you? And I said, well, that would be like 6 of us in one room. He goes, that way, my room is open for us.
That is completely
true.
wrong.
That is
Your
true.
Honor,
Just a second. Wait a second. Shh. Just a second. So what did you say?
I said no.
Well, not only did you say no, but you should have said goodbye if that wasn't your intention, Miss Grote. What I'm saying is, if you have any misgivings about going away on a trip with somebody whose intentions you're not sure of, you don't go. And you certainly don't go and expect for somebody else to pay for you and pay the freight. You stay home. Go to Seattle. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ashley Coggins says she loaned money to ex-boyfriend Daniel Piper so he could buy a 1990 Mustang. Ashley says Daniel has never paid her back.
Ms. Coggins, according to the complaint that I read, you and Mr. Piper lived together for a period of time.
Yes.
And you took out a loan.
Yes.
And the loan was to be primarily used for a car for you. What kind of a car did you buy?
1990 Mustang.
How much did you pay for it?
$3,200.
How much of a loan did you give him?
$4,500.
What'd you do with the rest?
Well, she got a portion of the money, approximately $300 to $400, and the rest of the money I used to plate the car and insure the car.
And then shortly after the loan, the two of you broke up.
Yes.
He made some payments on the loan and then stopped.
Yes.
You want him to pay the loan?
Yes.
Mr. Piper says that he was forced to sell the car, stop making the payments because you moved out of the apartment, leaving him with the lease and the bills. And he couldn't do everything, so he stopped making the car payments.
Well, I paid some payments. I did not.
How many payments did you make?
I believe 4.
And in what amount?
122 and some change.
Does that sound right?
I believe he made 4, but only $55 have been made since the payments were always late. And they were adding the interest and the payments were always late. He's only actually paid $55 on the loan.
Can I see the last statement, please?
Yes.
So I can look at it. Well, the balance is $4,445.20, but some of this is yours.
Right.
Well, let's say there's $4,000 left on the loan. Now, did you both sign a lease for this apartment?
Yes.
When did you sign the lease?
March of 2004.
And when did you move out?
I moved out July of 04.
Are you still in the apartment?
Yes.
What was the rent on the apartment?
$735 a month.
And what was your financial arrangement with regard to the rent?
I was supposed to pay all of the bills, the electric and the cable and the cell phone bills, and him and his brother were supposed to pay the rent. They were supposed to
three of you
split
living
it.
there?
Yes.
Is that right?
My brother did move in, but we were not splitting the rent. That wasn't the agreement.
Yes, it was.
Why not?
Due to the fact my brother had just got back from the Navy, he was in a tight spot, he needed a place to live. I let him move in with us under the agreement that he would pay $200 a month.
Is he paying $200 a month?
Yes.
Then you're almost whole, sir. If the rent is $735, let him pay half the rent. He's not in a bind anymore.
I understand, but he's
Right.
also not on the lease.
I don't care whether he's on the lease or not. He's living there.
Yes.
I mean, your defense to this whole action with regard to the car is that she left you with the lease, which I would take into consideration, except for the fact that you moved your brother into the apartment and he can pay half the rent. I mean, he's a big boy.
Yeah, but what was I supposed to do when she left the lease, didn't have somebody else move in?
Listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
When you moved into the apartment together,
Mm-hmm.
the two of you, in March of '04, did your brother move in with you
Yes.
at the same time?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
With no agreement that he was to pay at least a third of the rent?
No. The agreement was $200.
Well, you better change the agreement, sir. Circumstances change. He's living there with you. Now, put your hand down. You sold the car.
Correct.
Two.
Kid named John.
Did you put a sign in the window?
No, I didn't.
Well, how did you sell it?
The kid came to my mother's house where the car was parked in the backyard. He had them get a hold of me because he wanted to purchase the car.
You mean it was like a Karnak? He said, oh, this must be a car that's for sale?
Well, the person that I bought the car from was friends with this kid. He was looking for that kind of car, so he came to me.
How much did he pay for the car?
How much did he pay for it?
That's my question, sir. It doesn't give you an opportunity to think about an answer.
I just
you should
didn't
know
hear
that.
you.
You should know that like that.
Yes,
Don't play with me.
He paid $1,100 for the car.
Why didn't you give that $1,100 to her?
Why would I give it to her?
Well, who's supposed to pay this loan?
Me.
But you haven't been doing that.
At that time, I was still paying the payment.
But then you stopped.
Correct.
So why didn't you give her the $1,100?
Because I was paying the loan at the time. It was.
But
up
then
to
you
date.
stopped.
The $1,100 by that point was gone. I mean, the situation I was in, I didn't
Who is this?
have. This is my girlfriend.
What is she here for?
Because she's been the one dealing with Ashley during this whole thing.
Why is she dealing with Ashley?
Because I
Because he
repeatedly,
refused to talk to her.
I repeatedly asked her not to call me. If she needed to get a hold of me, I asked her to ask her mother to call me,
No,
to email me,
that's not true.
or
Oh,
to
shh.
have.
I don't want to hear you unless I ask you a question.
I repeatedly asked
I'm
her
getting
not to call me.
frustrated with you, Mr. Piper.
Okay.
I'm getting frustrated with you, Mr. Piper. Somebody takes out a loan for you. You promise to pay them. You stop paying them. You sell the only equity that exists, which is your car.
Well, to tell you the truth, the car wasn't part of the loan.
Well, what was the loan for?
I'm saying there was no. That wasn't collateral on the loan or anything like that. Okay, this loan was just a
Is
personal
that-
loan. It wasn't a car loan.
I understand what it was, sir. She
Okay.
took out the loan to enable you to spend $3,200 plus tags and fees to buy a car.
Correct.
Of course I'm correct. You think you're smarter than I am?
No, ma'am.
On your smartest day. You're not as smart as I am on my worst day.
Okay.
What do you want?
I was wondering if I could say something.
Of course. I haven't had lunch.
Well, Danny was with Ashley throughout their whole high school career.
I don't give a, listen to me.
I
listen to me
understand that.
carefully. I don't give a rat's behind whether they were soulmates in utero.
Okay.
He took money from her.
I
Listen,
understand that.
Try to be quiet and watch my mouth. He took money from her to buy a car. He stopped making payments on the car. He stopped making payments to her for the loan that she took out to enable him to buy a car. And then he has the gall to sell the car and not give her the proceeds.
She lived with Danny, was very unsatisfied with whatever Danny did. Left, did not pay any rent, didn't pay anything, asked him, oh, she is always in contact. Did you pay the rent? Did you pay this? Did you pay that? If you walked out, you are supposed to find someone to take your place. She did not do that.
She left Danny with everything. Left him with the rent, the utilities. He had shut-off notices.
Listen to me.
A roof over your
Listen
head
to
is
me.
more important than a loan payment
When
that
my
she
mouth
should have never...
starts to move, yours is not moving. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Danny has a brother, a big, strong guy who served his country, who came back, and who now has a roof over his head, cable, gas, electric, rent. And these two boys have to manage to pay $735 rent. And they can get that by collecting cans if they need more money. His brother, if he is trying to find a job, can go and work in a fast food place for minimum wage. You can make $350 a month doing that. He has no right not to pay his debts. And if you are making excuses for him,
I'm not.
Good, then you deserve each other. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all. Step out.
David Boudreau says ex-girlfriend Valerie Kassler owes for rent and for stealing money from a shared bank account. Valerie says she was entitled to that money.
Mr. Boudreau, you and Ms. Kassler were involved in a relationship, according to what I read in your complaint, for a period of time, and did in fact live together.
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe she moved in with you,
Yes.
and you have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children?
I have a total of 4, and I have 2 that live with me.
So you moved in with Mr. Boudreau with your 2 children?
Actually, we got the place together. He was living at the time with his parents.
Did you sign a lease together?
I was the main person on the lease.
Then the answer is only you signed the lease.
All our information was on there. For
Who
insurance.
signed the lease? Raise your hand.
Both of us did.
Great. As joint tenants?
Yes.
Now, it is your complaint, Mr. Boudreau, that after the two of you separated, Ms. Kassler went to a joint bank account and she withdrew some money. That's $1,600.
Yes.
And she had not put that money into the account. That was your money, because
Correct.
this was sometime after you had separated that she closed the account.
Yes.
Ms. Kassler has a variety of reasons why she believes she was entitled to that money, and she's going to explain that to me. When did you move into this apartment together?
November 22nd of 2003.
And when did you move out of the apartment?
May 14th, 2005.
So you lived together for some period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
And your arrangement was, according to what I read, that each of you would put in $800 a month to cover your household expenses.
Correct.
Correct.
When was the last time you put money in that account, Ms. Kassler?
April 3rd.
April of 2005.
2005. I apologize.
At that time, you were still living there, so that $800 covered May rent.
Actually, that was for April's rent and bills.
Is that right?
Yes.
What was the rent?
$1,100.
And your gas, electric, cable,
Correct.
whatever. So I would assume that at the end of each month, there wasn't much left over from this $800 a month. That $800 a month just pretty much covered the bills
Some
for
months,
each month.
yes.
Okay, good. Now, when did you withdraw this money, Ms. Kassler, from the account?
When I took it all out, it was in June.
Now, Ms. Kassler, you knew that in June of 2005, it had been 2 months since you put any money into the account. And if there was money in the account, it was money that Mr. Boudreau had put in the account. Is that right?
Correct.
So now the ball is in your court, madam, to explain to me why you believe you're entitled to that money.
There were various months, which I have all written out here, that I put in over the $800 to cover the bills, and some months I put in extra to cover the rent because Mr. Boudreau was not working. And Mr. Boudreau also stated that when we moved with him to North Carolina, that if we were not happy, he would pay to move us back to North Carolina. I ended up having to pay to move myself back here. My son was a witness to a lot of these conversations, that's why he is here. But I ended up putting over $2,270 extra in that account to cover bills.
How much extra did Mr. Boudreau put in the account some months?
None.
What you're saying to me, twofold. What you're saying to me is twofold. That the reason you took that money out, stop playing with your papers, Mr. Boudreau.
Oh.
The reason you took that money out of the account is twofold. A, because you thought you put in more than your fair share during the course of the year and a half that you were living together. That's one. And two, if I don't buy that argument, you had to spend money to move you and your family back home, despite the fact that Mr. Boudreau had said that if things didn't work out, he would pay for your moving.
Yes.
Is there any other reason that you want to offer me why you closed that account and took out
Because
the
I
money?
wanted my name off of that account.
Okay. Is that the primary reason why you went to the bank?
I sent them a letter to close the account.
You have a copy of that letter?
Yes, I do.
Let me see the copy of the letter, please.
Right here. And then here's a copy of the email with the bank.
All right, so the first thing that you did was
I sent
when
him
you
an email.
separated. Shh.
Whoops.
Okay. At least initially, I get the sense, Ms. Kessler, that what you intended was just to have your name taken off the account. And if that meant that the account had to be closed and reopened in his individual name, that's what you wanted.
Yes.
And then you ask the question, well, what happens to the funds that are in the bank? Because the bank says, it can't just take your name off, the account has to be closed. And you say, well, then I want the account closed. And they say, well, okay, we'll send you the paperwork and you close the account, because you can do that. And then they say, well, what do you want to do with the funds in the account? And you say, well, how are those funds going to be dispersed? And they say they send you a check, because you're the one closing the account, and you put it in your bank. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I tried contacting him, and he would not answer the phone. Or
What did you try contacting him for,
just
Ms.
to
Kessler?
get my name off of there. And
All
then
right,
he sent
so-
me threatening emails, and I said, because I was going to let the money, extra money that I put into the account go, just to sever contact with him. He sent me a threatening email, and I said,
Did
"That's
he?
it."
Can I see it?
How
See
many
what
do you
happens
want?
when you're not nice, Mr. Boudreaux?
I do.
You see what happens when you're nasty? You could have eliminated this whole thing if you weren't nasty. What'd you get nasty for?
Because those emails I sent, most of them were replies back to her she sent to me. I mean, she called me in 475 times in
Did she?
in a little bit over a month.
You have the records
And
of that?
I have the records of that
I
right
see.
here.
What'd you call him 475 times for?
When I first went down there, he had worked on my computer, and I was having computer problems. And some of those,
475 times?
and if you notice, some of those calls were made to the cell phone first, and because he did not answer the cell phone, I called the house phone.
475 times?
Well,
Where
I
is
have
that?
emails here to bet that
Miss
say,
Kessler.
why won't you answer the phone?
Miss Kessler. 475
that's what it
times.
says.
That's harassing. All right, think about when he says nasty things to you.
I mean, before that, he had threatened my life.
This is disgusting, sir. I don't care what she said to you. I don't care if she called you 475. This is disgusting.
And I have a lot more with those words in him. He would say that to me in front of my children.
How long did he say that in front of your children before you moved out?
That's why I got out of there.
He said it, listen to me, the first time, not the second time. The first time he used this language in front
Too
of my
long.
children.
Too long.
In front of my children.
Too
You're a
long.
tough girl. I mean, I read what you did.
Too long.
I read what you did. You're a pretty tough girl.
I should have got out longer than I did.
Absolutely right. One time, use this kind of language in front of my children, and I'd be gone. If you let him abuse your children that way, that's your problem. They're not his children. You know why you're here, Mr. Boudreaux?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're here because you have a big, fresh mouth. A big, fresh, nasty mouth. I mean, I never saw somebody string these expletives together in sentences like this. Don't you have any other way of expressing yourself, sir? Don't you have any other way of, in a civilized manner, expressing yourself?
I tried every way.
No.
I tried every way.
You
and
think that saying it this, Mr. Boudreaux, you think that using this kind of language is going to get her to stop calling you? You think that this kind of language in a letter is supposed to inspire her to do things in a reasonable way?
I mean, 475 phone calls.
What did she want
emails,
from
messages.
Mr. Boudreaux, what did she want from you, sir?
No, I have no idea.
What did you want
I
from
have
him?
no idea.
Shh, Miss Kessler.
Right now, my kids want
No,
their
no,
dog.
no, shh. Forget the dog. Just go, forget it. Go buy him a new dog.
I didn't want
I'm
anything
asking
from
you,
him. I want him to leave
so
me
what,
alone.
So what will you call
And-
it? Shh. Listen to me. What were you calling him for? Don't think. What were you calling him for?
At first, to get my computer straightened out, because he's the one that formatted it. And there were programs on there that I didn't understand how they worked, and he knew how they worked, and I was trying to get him to help me with it.
At first.
Mm-hmm.
After you didn't return your calls because he didn't want to talk to you. At first, then there has to be a second. What was the second reason that you called him?
Stupidity.
Right. And then you took his money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. That's all.
Party's ex.
Melanie Clegg claims ex-boyfriend Newell Olmsted owes for rent and a television. Newell claims he's already paid his debt.
Mr. Olmsted, the plaintiff indicates in her complaint that you purchased a television set while the two of you were together, and you lived together for a period of time. You separated, and Ms. Clegg indicates that you separated because she found out some things that she didn't know about you. Does that be a fair statement? Mm-hmm. You have the television set. The payments for that television set was still outstanding when she left. It was some $1,200 left.
It was $1,257.
And on whose credit was it purchased?
Mine.
You got the TV.
Yes, ma'am.
You want the TV?
It's my TV, yeah.
It's not your TV unless you pay for it.
I did pay for it.
Show me.
I put...
What date did you separate?
We separated in December.
December 2009.
2008.
Okay. After December of 2008, she says that when you separated, there was $1,257 still owing.
There was only $1,000 owed on it, and I transferred that money into her account in January. 2 transactions from my account to her account for $500 each a transaction. She didn't pay it off in time. Then the interest kicked in. There's 2 transactions. There's one on the first day. There's actually 3 transactions to her account equaling $1,500. The third one was for a credit card that she said I owed her $500 on, so I paid that as well.
Okay, explain that to me.
He did transfer money into my account. It was for a credit card that he had on my name because he didn't have good credit, so he could not get any credit in his name.
Well, how much was owed on the credit card at the
time? There was
$400.
The balance was $1,000. There's $400 charge, and it says on her attorneys for his divorce. And he also owed me for his child's dentist that I was paying, which I have proof here also that I was paying.
I'm not getting so involved in this complicated case. You understand that?
Yes. And
I want to know how much was owed on this credit card when you separated in December.
$1,062.
Take a look at this, sir.
All that one is the
The only thing on this that I owe was $400, and I paid her $500.
$400 for?
She paid my retainer for my attorney for my divorce with this credit card, okay?
How much?
She paid $400.
Yes.
I paid her $500 for the interest. So I transferred $500. There's 3 transactions there of $500 apiece.
And so what you're telling me is none of those other transactions on that credit card are yours?
I mean, no.
Look carefully.
That's only 1 month statement.
That's dinner.
I wasn't trying to get for that credit card. I was just saying that some of it.
She asked me.
No. Listen to me, Ms. Clegg, very carefully. I see he transferred $1,500 to you at the end of December and the beginning of January.
$1,500?
Yeah. 3 payments of $500, 2 on January 7th and 1 on January 21st.
I did not get those transactions.
Those are my bank records from my bank account to her bank account. So I don't know how she couldn't have got them.
Ms. Clegg, I just need your checking account for the months of December and January.
Here we go.
December 2008, January 2009.
Do you want the withdrawals or just the deposits that he had given me?
The statement. You should have it. Transfer from. I have 1 January 7th for $500 that you did in fact get. There is only 1 on January 7th for $500, sir, not 2.
Oh, you know, as Clegg L. That's a different account. I transferred that because she said that she needed to put it into a savings account. So just
a second. You have 2 that you've outlined on January 7th, both to Clegg M.
Okay.
She only received 1, but they're 2 different numbers. Hold on a second.
Yeah, there's 2 bank accounts. I mean, one of them was savings.
Whoa. Wait a second. How many different bank accounts do you have?
I have 2 savings, and I have 1, which the L is my mother.
That's where you told me to transfer.
No. I have 2 different savings account numbers.
Yes, I do. I have 2 accounts. I have
2
that's
different
my
savings
mom's, and
accounts.
I have 2 other savings accounts.
Show me those 2 savings accounts.
I can show you on the internet. I don't have anything with that.
Don't show me on the internet.
Yeah, there's nothing. I have nothing.
Well, then you take a look at these.
Okay.
Yeah, Clegg L is my mother, not me.
I just put it in the account. She told me to put it in.
You owe my mother money.
Oh, now I owe her mother money.
No, I believe you. Mr. Olmsted,
Yes, ma'am.
I see where you gave her $1,500. She says she only received one payment of $500. That's a lie.
Yes, ma'am.
She received 3 payments of $500. 2 went into her savings accounts and 1 went into her checking account.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't believe that he only gave you 1 payment of $500. Now,
One of the Clegg L is my mom.
I don't care.
But that goes towards the TV?
His defense is that he gave you money after he moved out. Some of it was for his credit card, for his lawyer, and some of it was for the TV, $1,000 for the TV, which at that time, that's what was owed on the TV, which he paid for. He said the fact that you didn't make the payment on it and it went up to $1,200 is not his problem. If I believe him, then he doesn't owe you any money for the TV.
I put $1,000 down on that TV too, which I have proof of.
I don't care. TV, listen to me. All I'm concerned about is whether when you moved out there was any money due and owing on the television that he kept. And there was.
Yes.
And I find that he paid you for it. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over with you, what you say you loaned him for rent.
Yes.
Now I'll hear what you say you loaned him for rent. After you broke up, after you moved out, go.
I paid $2,600 to rent. He came to me in January of '09 and asked me if I could help him because he could not afford it and it would not look good in his divorce if he didn't have a place to stay. So I paid in January 2nd, I believe it is, I paid $995, which he was planning on paying me after his divorce. And
just a minute. Put your hand down. I saw it. Didn't you see me looking at you?
Well, I was just making sure you saw me.
I couldn't miss it. Now, first show me proof that you gave him $2,600.
Okay. Here's that 1, 2, 3.
Don't give him anything. What are you showing me here?
The withdrawals out of the account were the rent for his house. That's a Wells Fargo account. It goes into a Bank of America account. And I had cash so that it wasn't the exact same amount every single month because I was...
Did she give you any money towards rent?
She didn't give me any money. She paid, I mean, yes, she did go pay the rent for us.
When?
January, February, March, but she received half the rent from him, so I don't know why she pulled out
On 1
$900.
month.
Shh. January, February, March. Now, she was not living with you then.
No, she moved out in December. Just stuck us with everything, just moved out.
And who were you living with at that time?
He moved in, or he decided to stay to help me with the rent since she moved out.
Was this apartment in both your names or just your name?
It was just in my name, but we lived there together, yes.
Did you move in together or did she move in?
Yes. We moved in together in December of '08, and she moved out in December of '08.
Where had you been living before?
We had a house that we rented. We wanted to get into a cheaper place, so we got into a place that was $300 less a month.
When you lived in the house, were you sharing expenses?
Yes.
And why did you move out in December?
Because he was with my sister's best friend.
Well, that's a very good reason to leave.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Even if she thinks it, it's a very good reason to leave.
It is true, but the reason we split up is because she cheated on me.
I don't care.
So.
Actually, that's for another program, another time slot, not mine.
Okay.
I don't actually care about that. All I want to know is she moved out, the lease is in solely your name.
Yes.
And would you tell me why she paid any of the rent for January, February, and March?
She was helping me out, like she said. You know, I didn't have...
She was helping you?
Yes.
Why, if she was furious with you, because that's what she says, she was furious with you.
I didn't say she was furious.
Why? She says.
She says she's furious. I didn't. Why?
No. Listen to me. Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Why would somebody who is furious with you, she says she was furious with you, give you money?
That baffles me.
I wouldn't give you a penny.
I wouldn't either.
Because she found out about him being together with her friend.
Listen, go get your 15 minutes someplace else, but don't shout out here.
I'm not trying to get 15 minutes. I'm just trying to state facts.
I don't want you to state anything unless I ask you to.
I raised my hand earlier and I didn't get a turn.
Excuse me.
But tell him not to go far in case I need him.
Will do.
I'm pretty sure we'll need him.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just as long as she knows that he's here. The gentleman, Motormouth, who was here a moment ago, Did he give you any money?
No,
towards rent?
He gave me zero.
You never got any money from him?
From him, no. If it came from his account, I don't know where the money came from.
Did you get any money?
That $500 that I put on there that says Tim's half of rent on that page, yes, that's the $500 of Tim's half of rent.
Who is Tim?
Motormouth.
Motormouth.
Yes.
Okay, so you got that money.
That's it.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. So you got $500 of the 26 that you gave him, which means you're out $2,100.
If that's what, can I ask
you're
you
out
something?
$2,100.
Can I ask you something? Is that going towards the TV?
Forget the TV. The TV's over. I've already made a judgment on the TV.
Yes, but if you're accounting that $500 transferred from his account that you see out of Newell Olmstead's account into my account, the $500.
I thought it was from him.
It's out of Newell Olmstead's account.
Oh, well, you can't use that same $500, Mr. Olmsted, 10 times.
I'm not.
You can only use it once.
Tim gave her...
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me. You might be a very, very nice man and have many redeeming qualities. You're not George Clooney. Nobody who's not living with you, sir, is going to pay $2,600 for your rent. Not somebody that looks like that. Do you understand? Take a good look. Somebody that looks like that is not going to pay $2,600 for your rent after she's already broken up with you.
I agree.
But that's what she did.
No, she did not. Tim paid her $450. His part of the rent, he paid her. So that's not true. Yes, she
I don't believe that. And I don't believe Motormouth.
Okay.
I don't believe you should have had nothing to do with her. After you separated, you should have nothing to do with her. How come she gave you money? Did you call her and tell her that you needed money for rent?
I asked her to help me with rent.
Good. You owe her $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Crystal Anderson says former roommate Dr. Leonardo Rodriguez owes for the return of her security deposit. Leonardo is countersuing for the return of a computer modem.
Miss Anderson, you rented a room from the defendant in his house?
In a house, yes.
In a house. Do you live in the house also, sir?
Yes, I do.
And the intention was for you to live there for a year, although you did not have a written lease?
Correct.
It was your understanding that there was some sort of internet capacity in the house because you worked from the house?
Correct.
Did you have a discussion with the defendant about that?
About it before I moved in or it not working?
Before.
Yes.
In any event, you moved in and you found out that you could not work from the house because there was no, I don't know, Zoom, internet, whatever it is. I don't do that machine. And you told him you were going to be moving out.
After it did
You
not
want
work.
your security deposit back. Yes. The defendant says that you broke the lease that you had with him because he was supposed to stay there for a year even though you did not have a written lease. And even though he rented your apartment or your room, he doesn't have an obligation to return your security deposit. In addition, he says that you took a piece of property that belonged to the house, some sort of a modem. So let's get to his counterclaim to begin with. Do you have his modem?
No.
Did you take his modem?
No.
What makes you think she took your modem?
Well, I have a photograph of the modem in the house under her desk at the time that she moved out, and it's gone along with the other property. So I can only assume that she has it along with the other things that were in the room.
Is it possible you have his modem somewhere?
I did look. I don't have it. But I can also tell you that the desk that it was behind, I didn't remove from the room.
Who did?
The roommate that moved in. He had to disassemble it.
Okay, I removed the desk along with the roommate and removed the plasma television from the wall and put it outside.
She doesn't have your modem. She doesn't have your modem, and she does look like a thief.
I agree.
Good. So we've taken care of your counterclaim.
Well,
she doesn't have
well,
it.
not quite. I don't know if she has it.
She says she doesn't have it, and you have no proof that she took it.
I have proof that it was under her desk at the time that she moved out, and now it's nowhere to be found. Time
Well,
Warner,
you have a new roommate in there.
Right.
Maybe the new roommate took it when you were disassembling it.
We've gone through the entire room. We've
Just
looked
a second.
for it.
I didn't say that you haven't gone through the entire room. Maybe he took it. Maybe he's the thief. You don't think so?
Well, I never actually...
No. You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think she is either. Doesn't lady who has a responsible position, who gave you a substantial security deposit, who paid her rent on time when she was living there, would steal something from you and then look at me in the eye and say, I don't have it. I didn't take it. I don't have it.
I mean, you say that she's a responsible person. I don't necessarily think that's true. I mean, who agrees to a one-year lease and then leaves 4 months after it?
I'm going to tell you somebody, sir. She. And now she's going to tell me why she left. You gave him a security deposit in the amount of $2,500?
The security deposit was just $1,250.
Okay.
It was in addition to
it's clear, Mr. Rodriguez, because there's no allegation, that she left the room in other than reasonable conditions. So
Absolutely.
The only reason you're not returning her security deposit is because she breached the lease.
Correct.
Okay. When did you move in?
August 10th.
Did you pay August's rent?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you pay September's rent?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
What about October?
Paid the rent in full.
And November?
Paid the rent in full.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And when did you tell the defendant that you were leaving?
In the middle of October.
Did you tell him why?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I told him that the internet continued to have problems and would continually break down, and therefore I would spend numerous hours continuing to try to make it work, try to connect it, and if it didn't, I'd have to call Time Warner.
And what did he say?
He said that he didn't realize that it was that big of an inconvenience, that he would have done more about it if he'd known that it was going to make me move out of the house.
The first time that I had heard that it was a problem was at the point that she was moving out. I had no idea when she moved in that she was planning to run her business or her part of her business out of the room.
Did she tell you that she needed an internet connection, sir?
Absolutely.
And what did you tell her about
That
it?
there's an internet connection that we all use. All 4 other people that live in the house are still to this day using an internet connection. However, it doesn't run at the speed that she needs to run her business. I never knew that she needed a specific speed to be run.
Is it slow running?
It runs average. It runs normal for me.
It would break down in my part of the room. It was split. The last time Time Warner had come to the house, they had spliced it so many times, according to what they say, that they would
tell me what they said to you. But you told him in mid-October, and you moved out in December.
December 1st.
When did the new roommate move in?
December 6th.
The new roommate's name is?
Lee.
How much was your rent each month?
$1,250.
And what is Lee's rent?
$1,250.
Did he pay December's rent?
Not in full.
In what amount did he not pay?
He paid minus 5 days of rent. I'm not sure the exact dollar amount.
Okay. Did you have all your property out by December 1st?
Minus a plasma TV and a desk.
So you did not have all your property out by December 1st?
Correct.
When was all of your property out?
I know for sure it was all out as of the 4th.
So you overstayed your stay by 4 days?
Yes.
Okay. You cannot profit, sir, from a situation that was handled totally appropriately. She did not damage the property. She gave you notice.
She absolutely did damage the property, Your Honor. I have proof that she damaged the property.
Oh, well, you didn't say that. Wait a second. Hold on a second. I want to see if you said that in your answer. Did you? Would you please show this to Mr. Rodriguez? That's his sworn answer. Would you please have him point out in his answer where he says that he's not returning her security deposit because she damaged the property?
I asked her to remove the trash, but she never did. I had to hire a repairman to clean out the trash, repair the walls, and change the locks.
Repair what walls, sir?
So the plasma television that she says that she moved out, or that I took down myself and put outside, left behind a number of large holes in the wall.
Show me your bill for fixing the holes in the wall.
This is the bill for fixing the holes in the wall.
Okay.
This is the estimate that it would have cost to remove all of those things and put them outside.
No. All I want is fixing the holes in the wall.
Your Honor, if I was...
Why did you change the locks?
Well, I didn't know Crystal before she moved in, and I...
Sir, you want to change the locks, change the locks. That's what you do as a landlord.
But, Your Honor, if I was in the business of being a landlord and...
Listen to me, sir. I want to see a picture of the wall, and I want to see a bill for spackling the hole in the wall. Period. Okay.
Your Honor, we had a 1-year lease agreement.
You did not have a 1-year lease, sir. 1-year lease has to be in writing. Otherwise, it's a month to month. She gave you a month's notice. She gave you more than a month's notice.
Your Honor, we had a verbal lease agreement.
No, you have a lease agreement, sir, when it's in writing if it's for a year or more. Other than that, you have a month-to-month tenancy. And if you want something more than that, and if you want to lay out your rights and responsibilities, go get a form lease and sign it, and then you have a lease for a year or more. Do you understand? The only reason I am charging her the extra days is because she actually had property in your house. And if she actually has property, even if it's in the hall, that means she's still a tenant. So she didn't vacate December 1st. She actually kept property there for at least 4 days. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt for the 5th day because that's when you moved the new roommate in. So I am deducting $200.
Your Honor, the lease that you say is month to month. If I was interested in a beach rental for month to month, I would have charged much more than $1,250 a month.
Do whatever you want to do. You want to lease your place for a year or more, get a written lease that outlines everybody's responsibility. Other than that, you have a month-to-month tenancy. Most jurisdictions that I know. Now, it may be different from where you are, but any contract that has a duration for a year or more is supposed to be in writing. And if you choose not to do that, you do so at your own peril, sir. And you cannot profit from it. You didn't lose any money. You rented the room and took an additional security deposit. You didn't lose a month's rent. Ms. Anderson did absolutely the appropriate thing. She let you know in October that she was vacating in December, so she gave you more than 30 days to find a new roommate. You did, in fact, find a new tenant who paid you the exact same amount of money that she did. And I'm deleting from her request the amount that covers the 5 days that your tenant didn't pay for the month of December, giving you more than she's actually liable for because she's not liable for more than 30 days. But she kept stuff there, so she is, in fact, responsible for at least part of it. So you owe her $950. I am taking off $200 for the overstay because you lived there past December 1st, and I'm taking off $100 to plaster the wall. Okay. By the way, where did the new tenant put his TV?
He doesn't have a hanging television.
$950. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you. That's all.
Roberta Schumann is suing her ex-boyfriend, Scott Beer, for a loan to buy a Harley Davidson. Scott says Roberta stopped paying rent, so he owes her nothing.
Ms. Schumann, Mr. Beer and you were in a relationship for a period of time. You also lived with him for a period of time in his home. You claim that you made a loan to him so that he... Now, Mr. Beer acknowledges that you made this loan to him.
Correct.
He says that subsequently you moved in with him and you agreed to pay rent, which you didn't pay.
Correct.
And you made a new arrangement whereby he would pay your portion of the rent that you had agreed to pay and deduct that from the loan. And by the time he told you to leave, you had done several things. First, you stole a money jar from him, which you acknowledged that you did because you were annoyed. And then there were some other small items that ate into this loan. But you claim that there was never an agreement with regard to the rent in exchange for the loan.
That is correct.
Okay. On what date did you make the loan?
Well, there was two. There was 2 dates. One was 11.
One right after the other. I know. Give me the 2 dates.
Like April of 2007.
And when did you move in with Mr. Beer?
May 15th.
Right afterwards?
Yes.
Where had you been living?
I lived in my own townhouse in Blaine.
What did you do with your townhouse?
I sold it. I found out 3 days before I was moving in with Mr. Beer that he was sleeping with my best friend.
I don't care about that. You want to discuss that, go someplace else. That has nothing to do with me. You sold your townhouse, you moved in with him. What was the rent agreement?
$300 per person is what he charged to his other tenants when they lived there before. It was a couple. He charged them $600.
And how much were you supposed to pay in rent?
He assumed $600.
No. What did you discuss?
It was $600 when my son was supposed to come and live with us. My son never came and lived with us. I never even had a key to the door.
I don't care whether you had a key to the door. You slept there, correct?
Correct.
And there was an agreement to pay rent. All I'm trying to do is figure out how much. How much, sir?
$600 for the basement.
Is that where she was living?
Yep.
She wasn't staying with you?
Most of the time.
What does that mean?
Off and on, she'd stay up at my place. But I mean, it was run of the house, too.
Where were her clothes?
In the basement.
Is it a legal apartment in the basement?
Yeah, it's a regular house.
And you had a couple there living before?
Yes.
And how much was the rent before?
$600.
Okay.
Your Honor.
What?
There was also an extra bedroom downstairs in the basement that was never used while I lived there.
I don't care. I mean, I didn't get a legitimate answer from you, so I asked him. Okay. So you moved in May 13th, is that correct?
Yes.
How much was the loan for the motorcycle?
$3,100.
Okay, now you stole $100 from him in coins, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so now he owes you $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
You moved in on May 13th. When did you pay rent for the first time?
The actual, when I gave him the lump sum, I gave him $1,700 in July, and then 3 days after that, I gave him $600 for the rent that he claims...
Just a second. You gave him $3,000, according to you, for the motorcycle. I have deducted the $100 that you stole from him.
Mm-hmm.
You moved in May 13th. When did you pay rent for the first time? What month?
It would have been June, but my account closed.
So did you or did you not pay rent for June?
I did in July.
How many months did you live there?
Half of May, June, July. I moved out August.
When you moved out, did you take all your property?
No, I did not.
What property did you leave there?
My kitchen table, everything furnished his house. If I would have known...
Listen to me. Downstairs, in the basement, what items of furniture did you leave there?
A bed, a couch, and a TV.
Under what circumstances did you leave that stuff?
Because he threw me out. I had no key to the house. He threw me out. The end of August, I packed my bag. I stayed with a friend in Minneapolis.
Until when?
Until November 12th was when I moved out. I had surgery on my leg, November 10th.
Okay. Did you subsequently rent the basement to your townhouse?
I didn't rent my basement until January, I think, The first time I had somebody come in.
And when did you move out, Miss Beer? August what?
August 24th is when he bought the house.
So you owe him for 3.5 months rent.
But he told me that my stuff was there in storage. If I wanted to, I could have put it in a storage, which was $85 a month.
I don't care if it was 80. I'm said you owe him so far 3.5 months rent for the time you were living there. Half of May, June, July, and August. That's 3.5 months that you didn't pay. Or
Yes,
did
I
you
did.
pay?
Yes, I did, in July.
Did you pay him in July?
Yes, I did.
Did the check clear?
It was money orders that I had because he would only accept cash, which I agreed with that.
Well, because you gave him a bad check once.
It was a closed account.
Well, a closed account is a bad check. Did she subsequently pay you?
I have never seen that.
You've
Any
never
money?
seen the cash?
No, I
Okay,
did not.
so show me. Don't talk
Oh,
to
my
him.
God.
Talk to me. Show me what you claim you paid him for July.
July 24th, I paid him $1,700 cash because he said that these checks, which he had reserved
Show me.
one, I had cash. He wouldn't take anything but cash. And then 3 days later, I paid him for August rent, which was $600.
Did you own a townhouse?
Yes.
You're a businesswoman.
Yes,
If you
I'm
own a
real
townhouse,
estate
or you're a businesswoman. If you're a real estate agent and things aren't going well, then you don't give him cash. I don't believe that you gave him cash without a receipt. Did you get a receipt?
No, I did not.
Yeah, then I don't believe you.
I had a check that was revolving. This was
I
my
don't
business account.
believe you. You're a businesswoman, a real estate agent. Real estate agents don't pay cash for their rent, especially when they write out a check for a closed account. They may pay rent, and then they say, may I have a receipt, please, because I need that for my records.
Well, every single day that I came home, he would lock the door because I didn't have a
Then
key.
move out. Then move out. How old are you?
I tried. It costed me almost $700 to get a mover to come in there. If
My
I would
dear,
have known
you
that,
just told me you gave him $1,700 in cash.
I did.
If you didn't have a key to the house and things were miserable, then you move out.
he made my life miserable. As soon as I got there, I wanted to get out.
Very good. Is there any reason why you didn't rent that apartment after she moved out?
Well, at first, her stuff was in the way. I mean,
What
it's pretty.
stuff?
Oh, please,
Her
you
couch,
used my stuff.
What
her
stuff?
Her couch, her bed.
Well, that's all right. You can
I
move
mean,
somebody in there. You rent it furnished. What?
Exactly, but she also said that while she was gone, that she just needed a month to get her stuff moved out. I said, all right, I'm start charging you rent. Well, then it was 2
He
months
did
after
not.
that her stuff was still there. So,
Okay.
I mean, yes,
It was
I finally
storage
did.
fee. If I would have known that, it would have been $85 a month to move my stuff into storage. He agreed to leave my stuff there until I could
That's
find
fine.
a place to live.
That's fine. You still owe him for rent, which I don't believe you paid. What else?
And then when she did move out, I got damages of my doors.
Did you file a counterclaim, sir?
I did not.
Then I can't help you.
All right. But how about for my Harley Davidson jacket that she took back from me?
Do you
He
have a
threw it on the
counterclaim, sir?
garbage and said I didn't want it.
Am I speaking to you? Do you file a counterclaim, sir?
No, I did not.
Then I cannot help you.
Okay.
So far, you owe her $900
Okay.
on the loan. Got it?
Yep.
I've given you credit for 3.5 months' rent, which I don't believe she paid and which she agreed to pay. Got it?
Okay.
Do you have your bike?
I have my bike.
Good. That's all. Thank you.
Cheryl Wills says her estranged son-in-law, Richard Sharp, owes for half the cost of his wedding. Richard claims he need to pay.
What is all that stuff?
This is stuff that I brought that I don't have actual receipts for, just to show you that.
What is it?
It's the Unity candle, some table decorations that we made, the candle stands.
Bert, could you do me a favor? Could we get rid of that? I don't need all that stuff here.
Where do you want me to put it?
All right, put it on the floor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am, take this stuff, put it on the floor, please. Thank you.
Perfect. Ms. Wells, this is what the case is about. Mr. Sharp is your soon-to-be ex-son-in-law. He and your daughter had a very short and unpleasant marriage, and it is your claim that he had agreed to pay for half the wedding. The loan lasted longer than the wedding.
Correct.
Now they're going to get a divorce, and you want half the cost of the wedding, which was, you say his half was $7,000?
Correct.
Mr. Sharp says, listen, I never agreed to pay for a big wedding. So, Mr. Sharp, this I assume is your soon-to-be ex-wife?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were the two of you dating before you decided to get married?
4 months, Your Honor.
What?
4 months.
And whose brilliant idea was it to get married?
Mine, Your Honor.
Could you speak up
Mine.
a little bit? I'm old. I have...
Mine. Mine.
Did you give her a ring?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
I want to say about 200 and maybe 34 bucks, 40 bucks.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for Sun Cruise Casino and a gambling boat.
And how much do you earn a week?
I make 8, but I bring home like 7.
7?
700.
A week?
Every 2 weeks.
Okay. When your daughter came home and showed you the engagement ring and told you that Mr. Sharp had asked her to marry him, what did you think?
I didn't approve of it. I didn't like it because they didn't know each other that long, but...
Well, that's a good judgment on your part. When you saw the engagement ring that he bought your daughter, what did you think of it?
I didn't have any thoughts. I mean, I
Did
thought...
you think that he wanted to get her the best possible engagement ring he could?
That he possibly could,
Listen,
yes.
listen to me. Did you think that he wanted to get her the best possible engagement ring he could afford?
Yes, I did.
And he spent $230 on the engagement ring, which was the best he could afford, right? That's what you thought.
I didn't know how much it cost him.
But it wasn't. We're not talking about the Hope Diamond here.
No.
Now, who wanted the big wedding?
Richard did.
Did you?
Yes.
Why?
At the time, I was in love with her, and after we got married,
Listen to me, Richard. You didn't take any snoozy pills this morning, did you?
No, ma'am.
I want you to listen to the question. Your mother-in-law says you were the one who wanted the big wedding. Is that true?
Yes.
Who was supposed to pay for it?
She was.
Your Honor...
Shh! Why was she supposed to pay for a big wedding if you wanted it?
So
Do you want to take a nap?
No.
Who is this?
My stepfather.
Step up here with him. Tell me your name.
Frank, Your Honor.
Frank what?
Enoch.
Mr. Enoch, do you understand my question?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Miss Wells wants your stepson to reimburse her for half the wedding. Ordinarily, I would say, listen, that's ridiculous. Usually, it is the bride's family's responsibility to pay for the wedding.
Your Honor...
I'm speaking. My father and mother paid for my first wedding. They paid for my second wedding. And then my father said, the next one's on you. However, you see, I'm having trouble communicating with your stepson, sir, because I'm not quite getting the fact that he's wrapped too tight.
He's nervous, that's all.
He doesn't look nervous, Mr. Enoch. He looks tired. Are you nervous?
Not really.
I can try harder.
I don't think you'll be able to make me nervous.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Enoch?
I understand what you're saying.
So Miss Wells says he's the one who wanted the big wedding. I don't know why. It's usually the bride that wants the big wedding. You didn't want a big wedding?
No, ma'am.
Step up here with your mother. Why did he want a big wedding? He had a whole bunch of friends?
When he was working at the car lot, he was inviting people he didn't even know that would come and make a payment to our wedding.
I want you to tell me what happened when you started to discuss the cost of it.
We sat down, and me and my mother explained to him, we don't have this kind of money. We don't even know these people. If it was, if it was some people he knew, then fine, but he didn't know these people.
So what did he say?
He said, well, I think they should come anyway, and I'll pay for half the wedding since it's mostly my people that I want to come.
Is that what you said?
No, ma'am.
How many people were at the wedding, Mr. Sharp?
There's about 120, 140.
How many people were at the wedding?
73.
Of the 73 guests, how many were his family and friends and how many yours?
60 of them was his.
You mean you had 13?
Yeah, because we're not from Florida.
60 were his family and friends?
Yes.
And 13 were your family. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
How many were your family and friends?
My family was 5, and there was maybe like 3 or 4 friends of mine.
Your Honor, I have the wedding pictures. I also have the kind of people that you're dealing with. This is public record.
I don't need to see the kind of people that I'm dealing with. I just have to try to figure out whose responsibility is to pay for this fiasco.
Fiasco is correct.
These pictures?
Now, let me take a look at the wedding pictures. Miss Wells, is this your only child?
This is my only daughter, yes.
This is your only daughter?
Yes.
You should go around the desk praying 3 times, get down, kiss the floor, and say, thank God she got out when she did.
You're correct. I agree.
Because you don't have any children with him, do you?
No, ma'am.
But for the grace of God, you could have had a grandchild fathered by this guy.
No, thank you.
I agree with you.
No, thank you. Really.
Unless he's hiding something from me that I don't see.
Well, you're not missing much.
Okay. Who was in this picture? Can you see it from there?
Yes.
Who was in this picture?
That's me, Jack, Bill, Terry.
Who are they?
Friends of mine.
Friends of yours?
And the one guy, Jack,
Just
I
a
used
second.
to work
You
for
said
him.
3 or 4, so that these are the only people at the wedding that were your friends?
There might be a little bit more, but other than that.
Who are these people?
That's my stepbrother, and that's her stepfather.
Okay, so you got a stepbrother here.
Yes.
Was he in this picture too?
No, ma'am.
These people come with their significant others, or they come stag?
They came with others.
With others?
They came with their
So you got to do
wives.
this times 2, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's more than 3. Even you could tell that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam, it's clear to me that he had certainly more than 3 or 4 people at the wedding. So what you're telling me is he said to you, these are the people that I want at the wedding, they're friends that I work with?
Not friends that he works with, but he was working at a car lot, and people that would come in to make their payments that he would talk to just to make their payments, he would invite to our wedding that he did not know.
Your Honor, I had to finally put a stop to it because this list was like 300 people.
Who was supposed to pay for all these people, all these strangers?
I felt that I was going to pay for them, but as soon as she said she put a stop to it, I said, okay, never mind then.
All right. Now, where were they married?
At the Ramada Inn.
Had you taken the Ramada Inn before or after you had this discussion with him about inviting too many people to the wedding?
I'd already talked to the Ramada Inn, and then when he kept adding the...
No, I want you to make sure you give me the honest answer. You had gone to the Ramada Inn, you have to give them a deposit and reserve the date.
Correct.
Had you done that before you had the discussion with him?
Yes, but he kept adding to the list.
You don't have to repeat it. I understand what you're saying to me. So you had already taken the hall, and initially he was not going to pay for half the wedding. That's according to what I'm gathering now. It was not until after he started adding all these people.
No, Your Honor, that's not correct. He agreed to pay for half the wedding.
No, that's incorrect,
we went
Your
to
Honor.
the...
I was there when it was discussed.
No, I don't believe that, Miss Wells.
But that is
Listen to me. Miss
No.
Wells, I don't believe that. I don't believe that
true.
somebody who buys a $230 engagement ring makes a knowing decision to pay for half the wedding that, according to you, cost $14,000.
I wanted them to elope. I offered to give them $2,000 so I didn't have to pay for this big wedding. He had already agreed to...
Now you want to talk to me?
Yes.
Good. Now I'll hear you. But make sure you're telling me in a loud, clear
I
voice.
did not agree to pay for half of this wedding, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what happened.
What happened is I started adding people to the list, and she said, no, I can't afford all these people to come, Your Honor. So I said, okay, well, we'll stop all them people, because who even knows if half of them people are going to show up.
Your Honor, that's not right, because I even paid for his probation. He was supposed to pay me that back as well, and he has not even done that.
And her daughter paid her back out of that with her income tax money, Your Honor.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is you were on probation, you had certain fines,
Yes, ma'am.
and she paid your fines
With her income tax.
because you didn't have the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how could you reasonably expect him to pay $7,000 for a wedding when he couldn't even pay his own probation fine?
We paid his probation off so he could get off by the beginning of February for our wedding.
You working?
Yes.
Pay your mother back for this wedding.
No way.
Pay your mother back for this wedding.
I've paid her half of the wedding already.
I don't believe that he agreed to pay you for half the wedding.
He didn't, Your Honor.
I don't believe that.
Your Honor, he did agree to pay for that wedding.
Do you have that in writing someplace?
I don't have papers for that.
You should. You're dealing with
Well,
someone who is a
no.
convicted felon. It would seem to me if someone agreed to
Your
pay.
Honor, he
I'm
goes to church
speaking.
every Sunday.
I'm speaking. I have to come up in my mind if he agreed to pay you, which I doubt. But let's say he said, "I'll pay for half the wedding." Any legitimate and reasonable expectation that this person who spent $200 for an engagement ring and couldn't pay his probation fines was going to be able to pay for a $14,000 wedding. What was the nature of the felony that you were convicted of?
Sales and possession.
Sale and possession of what?
Cocaine.
How many times?
Twice.
2 different arrests?
Yes.
That means you got caught twice.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you sold only twice. It means you got caught twice.
I got caught twice.
Well, then you are smart.
Yes, ma'am.
Pretty smart. Because
Well,
you.
not pretty smart for selling drugs.
But you were pretty smart. You did it a few times and you didn't get caught, right?
I should have done it at all.
I asked you a question.
Yes.
Just a second.
Yes.
Don't tell him what to say, Mr. Enoch. I think he understands me pretty well, sir. I think he's keeping his cool because I don't think that with this kind of act, this young woman would have said yes to this proposal.
Your Honor, can I say something? Please.
Go ahead.
He goes to church every Sunday. We thought that he was reformed. I mean, you're supposed to give everybody a chance. And that's exactly what we did. We believed him.
And the reason that the wedding wasn't, it is because he moved in with his girlfriend that he had before we were married.
No. Your Honor, this lady, my soon-to-be ex-wife, she thinks I am sleeping with this girl, Melissa, okay? Me and Melissa ain't together.
Ma'am.
She would not sleep with me because I am married to this young lady here. And I got to respect
So
that
you've
woman
asked her
for that.
to? Listen to me. I just wanted to hear him talk because so far I've had monosyllabic conversations with him, and I wanted to make sure that he was more together than he was presenting. I'm speaking more together than he was presenting to me a moment ago. I do not believe that he agreed to pay for half the wedding. It's unfortunate. And my advice to everyone out there is don't spend an awful lot of money on first weddings. Wait for the second one. They usually hold out a little bit better.
Your Honor, he
I'm sorry,
did
Ms. Wells.
agree.
So I don't believe it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Pamela Marr claims her ex-husband's girlfriend, Mary Palmucci, illegally titled a Chevy Cavalier in her name. Pamela says the car was supposed to be a gift to her daughter, Ashley.
Miss Marr, Miss Palmucci is the girlfriend of your ex-husband.
Yes.
Ex-husband?
Yep. Yes.
Better. According to your complaint, you and your ex-husband got together and decided to purchase a used car for your daughter.
Yes, Ashley.
And each of you was going to contribute $400 to the car.
Yes.
According to you, you gave your husband $400 to buy this car. The car somehow was registered in the name of Miss Palmucci.
Yes.
Your daughter drove the car for a period of time, and then, for whatever reason, Miss Palmucci took the car back.
Yes.
You want your $400 back.
Correct.
Miss Palmucci said it was always her car. Step up, sir. What's your last name?
Marr.
How long have you and your former wife been divorced?
About 4 or 5 years now.
And how long have you and Miss Palmucci been together?
About 7 years.
So I assume you and your wife were separated for a long time before you divorced.
Yes.
How old was your daughter when you left the house?
Like 13, 12, 13, like that.
How old?
10.
10.
They're not always good with dates. Whose idea was it to get this used car for your daughter?
It was my idea.
Where did you find the car?
My niece had it. She was selling the car.
Did your wife, former wife, give you $400 towards the car? Look at me.
It was my understanding that check that she gave me was for the work I did for her at her house a week prior to that. And I gave $200.
How much was the car?
The car altogether was $700.
Did you have a conversation with your former wife with regard to her contributing to the car?
The only conversation that we had was with my daughter and myself and Mary about the car. There was no verbal conversation about the car between me and my ex-wife.
Did you have a conversation with your father about the car? Step up. Tell me your first name.
Ashley.
Ashley, tell me about when you had this conversation with your father about the car.
Well, I was at work and he called and asked me if I wanted to discuss with my mother about getting the car from my cousin.
Well, what specifically did he say?
He said, do you think your mother would go half in buying a car for you? I said, yeah, she would. So I went home and talked to my mother about it, and she said, yeah, that's a good idea.
Did your father tell you how much the car was?
Yes.
How much did he say it was?
$700.
And did you tell your mother how much it was?
Yes.
Who did you give the money to?
My ex-husband.
When?
I gave it to him on July 28th.
Did you give it to him in check or cash?
Check.
How much did you give him?
$400.
Why did you give him $400?
Because I was told that the car was $800, and later on, after I had paid it, my daughter had said it was only $700.
Did you originally tell your mother it was $800?
I think I might have.
What date did you get the car?
July 31st.
July 30th.
And when was the car taken back from you?
August 21st.
Mr. Marr, you did have a discussion with your daughter about her mother going half for the car. Unless you're calling your daughter a liar. Are you calling your daughter a liar?
Me and Ashley discussed it. We didn't discuss anything with my ex-wife.
Are you telling me that you didn't say to your daughter you think your mom would go half with me on a used car for you?
No, it didn't take place, that conversation.
Really?
Yep.
Tell me the work that you did for your ex-wife that you thought she was paying you for.
I put a liner in the pool and a skimmer also.
Did you arrive at a price with her?
No, it wasn't. We didn't compromise the price.
Well, how much did you spend for the liner?
I didn't spend for anything. She bought the liner and I put it in. I installed it and the skimmer.
How long did it take you?
Half a day, about 4 or 5 hours.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Marr, is you want me to believe, sir, that you thought that this $400 was your labor in putting in the half a day?
Yeah, that I paid my brother-in-law with the other $200. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you had not come up with an amount with your wife for what the job was going to be?
No, since she doesn't make that much money, I was just happy with whatever she gave me, that's all.
Mr. Marr, you're full of baloney, sir. Absolutely, positively, 100% full of baloney. If something doesn't make sense in this world, Mr. Marr, it's not true. If something makes sense, it's usually true. What makes sense is you having a discussion with your daughter and saying you think your mom would go half with me on a car for you, and giving her an inflated amount of $800 because that would have covered the tags and the registration, whatever it was, to get it on the road. And she going to her mother and saying, would you do that? And her mother said, sure. And her mother hands you a check for $400. You don't even ask what it's for. You ask, don't know. It's for the swimming pool. It's for the liner. It's for the work. It's for the, I don't know what this is for. Thank you very much for the check. Then you register the car in your girlfriend's name. What happens to her $400 when you take back the car?
I didn't register the car.
She registered the car.
Because I wrote out the check for the $700, which I have, and I paid for everything else, including the insurance.
Then you got it, Miss Palmucci. He scammed you out of $400.
Who scammed me out of $400?
He did.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Because he got paid $400. So if you wrote out the entire check of $700 plus putting tags and registration on the car, then your boyfriend scammed you out of $400 because he got half of it from his ex-wife, which was supposed to pay
either
for
way,
the car.
the money comes out of a joint checking account, which him and I have. So he didn't scam me out of anything, because that's also where the check is deposited.
Yeah.
Into the account that we both have.
Let me see everything, please. I want to see all the paperwork, please. Going to resolve this right away. Why is the certificate of title all mangled?
Because she attempted to take it from my house and tore it in doing that.
Where's the car now?
In my driveway.
Who drives it?
Nobody right now.
Why not?
It's not registered, insured.
Does it still drive?
Yeah, it still
there's
drives.
nothing wrong with it.
Oh, good. You want to give him $350 for this car?
Sure.
Yes. Good, because that's all they paid for. They said they paid
In addition to
$700.
the insurance, the registration, the title, the amount that I had to have it towed in order to get the vehicle back.
Shouldn't have done that. Because
well,
you didn't get
the only
whole
other
story.
choice that I was given by the police department was that I should file a
You didn't
complaint
get the
of
whole
theft.
story, madam. The whole story was these two people have a child together. They decided to buy her a car. He's afraid to tell you that.
The conversation
I'm
between
speaking.
him...
Try not to speak over me. You will not be successful. You got yourself in the middle of it, and you shouldn't have. But she's going to give you $350. You get the other $400 from him, because that's what she paid him for the car, and you're going to sign over the title to her right now.
I can't sign the title until after the other case goes to court.
What other case?
There's another case that's going to court on the 14th of November.
For what?
Her claim against him for assault.
Her claim against him for assault?
Here's the paperwork. You want to see that
Can I
too?
see it, please? This has nothing to do with the title to the car.
It does. It's in there. It says that she went there and that she attempted to get the title to the car.
That's I gotcha. I gotcha. We'll give you a copy of this tape. You take it, you show it, and you indicate to the judge who hears that case, if a judge is going to hear that case, that you were directed to, and you have agreed and acknowledged to follow my direction. You're going to sign this over to her, and she's going to give you $350. Bird, have her sign it right now. You created a whole lot of trouble, Mr. Marr, by not being honest with the women in your life. Sign it.
Sell it.
You have now purchased the car yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
She gets $350. Now she's whole because she's going to take his $400 because they have a joint bank account. You got it?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
23-year-old Nicole Murray is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sean Simmons, for an unpaid loan, daycare costs, and harassment.
Miss Murray, the defendant is your former boyfriend, and quite foolishly on your part, you made 2 children with him. That is probably after you already knew that he had, according to you, a serious gambling problem. It is your claim that he forced you to take out a loan.
Yes.
That the loan was to be used to pay some bills. That you claim that he gambled the money away. He says he did not. He said it was either lost or stolen. You also claim that he owes you money because he said he would pay for the children's daycare, or at least half of it, and he didn't, and that he has been threatening you.
Yes.
So you want to be compensated for that, too?
Yes.
What was the loan for, Mr. Simmons?
It was a title loan on her vehicle, 2002 Ford Explorer, for our rent.
And when the loan was taken out, the check was cashed.
Correct.
And who took the money?
I did.
And what did you do with it?
Well, we left from where we got the loan, went back home, and then the next day I went and got a haircut at the local Walmart. I had like $974 on me. Paid for my haircut, went to Arby's, ordered some food, went to pay for my food, realized I didn't have my wallet.
So you either lost your wallet or it was stolen.
Correct.
Where's the police report?
There is no police report, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
That's your choice, Your Honor. I mean,
That's my
the truth.
choice. That's my right. Because anybody who has a wallet stolen or lost, and that's their rent money,
Well, if you'd let me finish, Your Honor.
they file a police report.
Your Honor, like I said, let me finish.
Show me a report
I then
from...
went back to Walmart. Okay?
Yes.
I then went back to Walmart, had my wallet. There was no money in my wallet.
Show me the report.
What report would there be?
From Walmart.
Your Honor, that night...
Shut. There would be a police report that you were the victim of theft. Even if that were not the case, let's say you left your wallet on the counter when you got your hair cut. You're responsible for the lost money.
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
I don't care whether you say you are or whether you say you aren't. That's why you're here, sir. That's why I went to law school. And what do you do for a living?
I'm currently unemployed.
That's why I went to law school and you are unemployed. All right. How much was the loan? $1,000?
It was $1,010.50.
Okay. Now, give me in 30 seconds or less how he's been harassing you and threatening you to the extent that I'm going to compensate you for that.
Ever since we moved up to my mom's house, and then we moved out into a place of our own, and ever since then it was threats daily.
Then you leave.
Calling.
Then you leave.
I didn't want to rip our family apart.
Well, that's too bad. Then you don't come in and complain about it now. You
Well,
left, ultimately, correct?
Yes, I did, and
Very
I got an
good.
OFP.
A protective order?
Yes.
Perfect. Good. That's what you should have done before. Now, tell me about this money owed for daycare.
I pay daycare for our two youngest children. I pay my mom $50 per kid per week, so that totals $400 a month.
Yes.
And I've always paid the daycare. He has never helped take care of any of his kids. He's got 5 kids, and he doesn't support any of them.
He had 3 before he had 2 with you?
Yes.
You should have had a clue.
Yes, I should have.
You should have had a clue before you had 1. You should have had a bigger clue before you had 2. And unless you can prove a contract with Mr. Simmons to pay half the daycare, you will address that issue when you take him to court for support.
I never knew anything even about the daycare, Your
Just
Honor.
listen to me. Does it sound like I'm against you right now on the daycare, sir? So
Just
why don't
wanna
you
make
just
my
keep
point,
your mouth...
Lois.
I don't want you to make a point. I want you to be quiet unless I ask you a question.
Okay.
Perfect. Do you understand?
Yes, and child support is pending.
Good. When you have a child support order against him, then he will have the parameters of his responsibility with regard to these 2 children. And if he fails to pay the child support order, and if that judge has any gumption, she'll put him in jail for non-payment of child support. But unless you have a contract with him, oral or written, with regard to payment to your mother for watching your children, he's not responsible for it. Do you understand?
Yeah, but he's always told me he'd help me out.
Well, he helped
when
you
it
out is not a
comes to the
contract.
kids.
Help you out is not a contract.
And I
Right
do
now,
help
he
her
owes
out.
you $1,010. That's for the money that he either lost or stole or gambled away. Anything else? Perfect. Thank you. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
25-year-old Leah Miller is suing her ex-roommate, 21-year-old waitress Angelica Simpson, for her share of the furniture purchased for their apartment.
Miss Miller, you and Miss Simpson were friends and roommates for a while. You claimed that when she moved out, she took half the furniture in the apartment that you had both purchased on a credit card.
Correct.
You're stuck with the credit card, and she took half the furniture.
Correct.
Ms. Simpson says she did not take half the furniture.
Correct.
She only took a bed.
A bedroom set.
Bed. And she left items there that are worth far more than the bed that she took. Now, when did you move in together?
February of 2005.
Was it a 1-year lease?
It was actually 15 months.
And when did you move out?
I left the last weekend in January.
And that was by agreement?
Correct.
When did you purchase the furniture?
February of 2005.
What did you purchase?
She purchased a bedroom set. I purchased a bedroom set.
When you say she purchased a bedroom set and you purchased one, were they purchased on 2 different credit cards or 1 credit card?
No, they did a joint account for both of us. So we were both liable for it.
Okay. Continue.
I also purchased a living room set, and she purchased her bedroom set, which included a bed, a dresser, an end table, a mattress. I purchased the same thing, plus a living room set, which included a couch, a coffee table, an ottoman, and a love seat.
Okay, go ahead.
One night, I came home, and I saw her and her friends playing quarters on my brand new coffee table. I confronted her about it.
When you say you purchased the living room furniture,
yes,
were you jointly paying the bill with her?
We had separated her cost from my cost, and we came up with an agreement that she would pay me $60 a month for her portion, and then I would pay the rest.
She only has responsibility for the bedroom furniture.
Correct.
And that's all that you're suing for.
Well, also, as the time went on, as we were living together, I found things missing from my room.
I don't care about things missing from your room.
Well, I had to purchase a lock to put on there, and I came home with her playing games on my...
Listen to me. I don't care if you had to put a lock on your room. I read it. You had to put a lock on your room for $2?
It was actually 15. Yeah.
In the scheme of things, you're talking about nothing.
Well, I had things missing from my room. Shirts, underwear, I had missing from my room.
Good. I'm not bothering with that.
Yeah. Okay.
You had other people living there, other people staying there, other people staying over. Don't bother me with nonsense. You hear about furniture.
Well, when
Don't throw in the kitchen sink to a lawsuit because judges get irritated, especially this one. Okay. How much was your bedroom furniture?
The whole set together was around $1,300. It was like $1,300 and some change.
Actually, Honor, I have evidence that hers was $1,412.
That would be including the tax, probably.
$1,412. And how much of that did you pay, Miss Simpson?
I started paying her when I moved out. Like I said, I left a TV there that I had purchased for $500. There's also entertainment center, dishes, mirrors, things of that nature that were there that I had left there that I didn't take.
Just a second. Did you have, Miss Simpson, any agreement?
Yes.
Listen, you're not letting me finish my sentence. Did you have an agreement with Miss Miller that in lieu of paying Bill $1,412, you were going to leave items in the apartment?
No.
Then I'm not interested in what you left.
But that's where I was going with this. I had moved out of the apartment and had paid her $55 for so on months. Then
just a second.
It was.
So that you talk very.
Didn't start. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
You paid her $55 a month for how many months?
It was for 6 months.
Okay.
No.
Shh, just a second. $55 a month for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay, that would be $330.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Then I'm a waitress, so I make all my money in tips, and I was paying her in cash. A incident arose with my mom when she pointed out that it was both my name and Miss Miller's name on the contract. So if I was paying her the money, how would I know that she was paying it to More Furniture? So I went into More Furniture and wanted to separate my name for her name on the account. They told me I was not allowed to do that.
Correct.
And that if we didn't pay off the money by the date with no interest, we would have to pay all of the back interest. When I brought this up to her, she did not want to give me receipts for the back payments, nor she had also moved out of the state and had given me a P.O. box where I could send her money, but I wasn't getting anything in return for paying her money. So my agreement was, well, if you're not...
What do you mean your agreement?
For my side of it was, if you're not going to be proving to me that I'm paying you and give me a copy of the statement, then I will pay the money directly to More Furniture, but not to you.
So
you don't need to be the middleman.
Did you do that?
No, because she hasn't been making the payments. They told me that...
Don't tell me what they told you.
Okay.
Do you have your statement?
Yeah, I have all the statements right here.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Here's the statement. Sorry.
How much money, if any, did she give you after she moved out?
$320.
No, she's making the payments.
Well, and this is my issue is, like you said, my furniture and her furniture is together, and there wasn't a minimum payment. So when or if it's not paid off, it's still gonna hurt my credit. That's what I'm saying. I have no problem paying the furniture. That's not the issue. I will pay the furniture and More Furniture. It was contacting Leah to make the payment.
But right now it's more than $1,412 because right now they've added interest.
Right.
Right.
But they won't separate us from each other.
That's why. So there's just a second. Well, she's paying something. You're paying nothing.
Sure. No, and I understand that. But
well, but you have to pay something, madam. Where are you sleeping?
Well, I have a house.
You're sleeping on the bed.
Yes.
So you have to pay something.
I understand that. But I have an agreement with More Furniture to pay the furniture.
I don't see that. Where are you standing there all by yourself with a big smile? Where is the agreement that you have with More Furniture?
I can't get a copy of it because my name and her name's on it without her permission.
Just a second. So how can you have an agreement without a copy of the contract?
Well, that would be the original contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
$1,412 less $320 is $1,092.
Can I say something?
Sure.
In the months that I have been paying it, I've had to pay extra, and I was working 2 jobs. I know it's $60.
That's good for you.
But I have had back payments and all this stuff that I've had to come up with.
Good. That's what happens when you act stupid and take out a joint credit card with somebody. She owes you $1,092. And As soon as you receive that money, you will sign an agreement with her that the court will prepare, that you are totally indemnifying her against any claim by Miller Furniture for this furniture, and they can deduct forthwith from your salary or your income tax refund, if any. Okay. You do work, don't you?
Yes.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,092. Wait around to sign the contract. Thank you.